time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be your soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be your soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be your soldier.
What I would do for you. What I would do for you. What I would do for you. What I would do
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, we're the heavy metal. Real life mainstays, tear it up, rebels. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Welcome everyone to the PUBG Players Super Cup for the Americas. It is Gibson, joined by Chunks. We have 3 days of action-packed third-person perspective PUBG to take you through to find out who will be, Chunks, if I'm not wrong, the inaugural Super Cup champions here for the Americas.
Yeah, it's super exciting. The first Super Cup for Americas. It's going to be exciting to see how all of these teams perform. Obviously, they've struggled to be able to qualify to this point, but now is the time to prove yourself. It's similar to the Masters in terms of players had to work through the scrims, then through the cups, and now they had to make it into the top 8. We are here in the Super Cup. We have a slightly bigger prize pool than we had in the previous player cups.
Yeah, prize pool's looking pretty nice this time around. I think we've got a total of, well, we'll talk you through the format, but I think we've got a total of $5,000 where the winner will take home $1,500 for themselves. But it's a 4-map-a-day rotation we got going on. Miramar, Tego, Rondo, and Erangel. Chunks, it really does feel like with events like this, it is blink and you miss it.
Yeah, keep things snappy. It's the best way to be. We get to see a lot of variation throughout the night, a lot of challenges for the teams, though. You don't have those repeat of 2 maps in a row, 3 maps in a row where you can kind of build on things. It is very much a case of move to the next one. At the end of the day, go and do that VOD review. We spoke about the prize pool, $1,500 on up for grabs for our first place team, but if you make it into that top 8, you're going to be guaranteeing yourself a little bit of cash, and that's alongside what these teams may or may not have already earned from the player scrims and the player cups.
Yeah, that's it. The player cups and the Masters and the Super Cup all combined together to make up a whopping $134,000 up for grabs in third-person perspective in the Americas this year. But you don't want to know about the money. You want to know about who is taking part tonight. And yes, there's a lot of big teams in the Americas that didn't manage to qualify for PGS. And if you're missing them, if you want to see them, this is the place to look. We have teams returning like Toyo, Team Liquid, potentially Dangerous, Luminosity, all teams you'll know very well, like Alcudia. But the standout team for me, Chunks, has got to be Team Mira. They have really upped their game, particularly in this perspective.
I was about to say the same thing. They are the one to watch tonight. When we saw what they were able to do in the previous Player Cup, they absolutely tore through the lobby. They were the first team to get over 100 points, and by far and away the best performing team we've seen throughout the entire tour so far. Now becomes the time, though, where they have to see whether they can keep that momentum up. It's difficult to do. You're always going to have teams that can have one or two really good days, but now can you carry that over? It's been a couple of weeks since our last set of matches. How much have you been practicing? How much have you prepared for tonight? Because again, we have some of the best teams in Americas here, and it's going to be no easy feat to carry on that performance.
Yeah, that's it. Like I said, some big names are taking part tonight because they aren't taking part in PGS, which, by the way, if you are wondering, starts back up again next week. So we're only, through 2 to 3 days away from that back up and up. So we've got tons of PUBG on this channel live. But the main thing is, we've spoken about the prize pool. Over $134,000 up for grabs over the course of this year. That is open to everybody. You watching at home, you can compete for a portion of that prize pool. All you got to do is type !register in chat, put you and your 3 best teammates up against the best teams in the Americas, and you have a chance of competing for that prize pool. And Chunks, I'm not going to lie, we're seeing some new faces come through every single time.
Yeah, it's always good to see, isn't it, when you see one team that's kind of come out of nowhere that we maybe not heard of before, a couple of really strong players when it comes to that mechanical skill. When you see them performing at the top level, it's amazing to see, and we've actually seen a couple of those squads have really strong performances and have been able to make it to the Super Cup. There's a lot of names out here that people maybe won't recognize if you're only used to watching the top level, but they've had to put in work, they've had to have a good performance to even be able to make it to this point. So really impressed by all those teams that have come through the player scrims, and again, anyone can take part. It's the perfect opportunity to get involved in competitive PUBG and ultimately get yourself a bit of cash if you perform well.
Yeah, and it is running all year round, and every single event is its own individual sprint. So you've got scrims over the course of a week, then you go into the Players Cups, and then you go into either the Masters or the Super Cup like we have going on now. So they're short little stints, so if you missed one, don't worry, it's not going to hold you back whatsoever with your chances of qualifying further forward. The only thing that could hold you back is the talent that will be taking part. And we said it already, Chunks, we have some of the best teams in the Americas taking part today. Mira have been incredible. Team Liquid are in action as well, and I'm not going to lie, any single time Team Liquid are on my screens, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, another team that have really drawn my attention over the course of the Players' Cups, though, they have to be Alcudia. And wow, what a playing path to kick things off over here on Miramar, really leaning over to the east. I'm not going to say it, but I think everyone knows what circle I want, and I've still never had the opportunity to cast one. So if this is how we kick off the Players in the Super Cup, this is how we mean to go on.
So, you've never casted one, really? You've not casted that circle?
Never casted that circle. And every time I cast and I see a playing path like this, I get excited and I say it and it never happens. So I'm not going to say what circle, but I think we all know what we're talking about with a playing path like this.
He means Chumacera Picado, by the way, folks at home. That's what you need to know. But looking at the drop spots, no surprises. Alcudia going for their normal drop spot whenever they play, and no matter what perspective it is. Team Liquid are the same, but keep an eye on Team Mira. They're the team that we highlighted in the pre-show. They're going to Puerto Paraiso. Now, the way they play, I don't think it bothers them. If this zone shifts massively towards Cruz de Valle or to the other side of the map, or even shifts right on top of them, I think this is the team that will benefit, or that can benefit and can make do with whatever we see. But not a hot drop inside of Los Leones as Panella Good decided they want to dance with Team Liquid.
Heartbroken with that circle, but Liquid, they're going to be pretty happy with this one. Sure, they've got to try and deal with the hot drop, but Los Leones is one of those cities where you can have 2 teams in there. They don't necessarily have to fight. A good example of that is maybe Yaz over on Erangel, where teams can kind of split off. They don't have to take the engagement. I will say, though, both of these squads are teams that want to take fights, and if they have the opportunity to get some kill points early, especially if they're in an advantageous position, they're going to do everything that they can to take them.
Exactly. Now, Team KZito, they've obviously settled on this roster. It's the very first Players Cup that they had. They had a guy called Laucha on the team who's incredible, fragged out. But since then, they had a little bit of a roster swap, a roster change, and they've managed to qualify for the Super Cup. But they did it by the skin of their teeth, Chunks. Like, it wasn't comfortable for them. The one thing that they did really well in the first Players Cup was keep players alive inside the placement points. That's got away from them just a little bit over the course of the last few events. I want to see them stepping up a little bit more, and with a circle like this, they have a chance to get into the game.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with Team Casito, when we've seen them in the past, is they were very much a squad that they focused on making it to the late game. They put themselves in the strongest position possible, trying to, I don't want to say avoid fights, but not getting over-aggressive and taking unnecessary battles. So when they were in those really strong positions, when we got to like Phase 5, Phase 6, that's where they really started coming alive. That's where we saw those high kill games from them. So we'll see how that goes for them tonight. I mean, look, when we see the circle and where they're currently placed, it shouldn't be too difficult for them going forward, but they still have a couple of teams going for very high priority positions right in the center. When you look at Graveyard, when you look at Minas, and just a reminder to everyone, make sure you do !map in the chat if you want to get a view of the map feed. If you have a second monitor, it's always handy having that open. You can kind of see fights developing before they actually happen sometimes.
And while that was going on, Team Liquid, their extended look up into his regular scouting position that he likes to take in circles like this, moving out of Los Leones. You saw Sparking running through the city, you know, head on a swivel, looking left, right, and center because of how much more risky it is in third-person perspective to run, because a player can use that to their advantage. They can sit around the corner of a door, wait for you to take that wrong move, and then they're able to pick up the knock and instant flush. So you'll see players being a little bit more cautious in scenarios than they're used to. A team not being too cautious and being quite proactive here. 4 minutes on the clock. We have got Kari moving inside the circle already. They're moving from that north inside the zone. I like this. It's an early rotation, and it's something that a lot of the newer teams don't do enough of.
Yeah, it's good to see from them. I do wonder what they're actually trying to play for here. When I look at their position in the map, there aren't too many like amazing compounds that they're going to be able to work with, but they have options at least that aren't occupied at the moment. We keep saying throughout the course of the Players Cups, through the entire tour, that these teams really like to go dead center early on, and we often see teams taking early game engagement. And a good example of this is how Team Casito right now, they're already looking over towards OMG. They've got to assume that this compound's taken. It's a really powerful one. Now, granted, it is not dead center, so they might be misunderstanding, but they've spotted the vehicle, they've spotted Furhopper, but Bran switches over to the Uzi at the worst possible time if he wanted to get that kill. He's going to sit around, wait for Furhopper to get in the vehicle, but not taking any shots until he gets a clean line of sight.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a DMR to work with, so the AUG is the only weapon he has. You'll see him carry that secondary SMG just because of how big of an impact they can have in close quarters combat. In this perspective, they can be a bit more effective, as our first shots in anger are going to get sent off by Sam Crow up towards T-Plants. Up on the high ground, he takes a lot of damage, and Typhon Gaming have managed to find themselves a solo player. But up on top of this tower, Chunks, it's going to be very difficult to move T-Plants from this position.
It's going to be difficult to move that Murado if Sam Crow's anything to go by. Struggling to get it up that hill. Nice shots coming out from Vinny onto OMG. Nearly takes out JO809. Will be able to get out safely. The damage does get returned onto one of those later in-check players, but nothing significant coming out of it. They are all still going to be focusing on him, as it looks like 55 Esports are in some real trouble. Fake has been knocked out by Gats on the third party. So now they're taking a fight on multiple angles. They are going to try and regroup. H11 closes in inside the vehicle as T-Plants has the read, is going to fire out some shots, catch a little bit of damage, but they're under a lot of pressure, and you can see the push starting to come in from Typhon now as they try to close the distance.
Yeah, T-Plants, he needs to put down covering fire to let his team arrive in this position. You've lost Fake already. Now you've got H11 here too, so the fight becomes a little bit more of an even playing field. Now you're wondering where Baki is if you don't have the map feed open. He's a little further towards the west. He's on that, you know, that plateau just on the edge of Power Grid, keeping an eye on the high ground elsewhere. But T-Plant still on his feet, kept Luminosity honest over on the other side of the fight, and the main one kept him busy enough so that H11 could get here.
I think what makes Baki's position even more interesting as well is the fact that Karax is over in a similar spot, just slightly up to the north, with a bit more high ground. So if Baki does want to provide any kind of fire support, that position's going to be given away, and he could potentially get taken out. Then there's zero cover over from the west. In fact, quite the opposite, as Bisler, he's going to be looking out to try and catch Sam Crow. Unpeaks at probably a bad time to be able to land those shots, but he's not trying to give anything away. He's a little bit split up from the rest of the squad. He's playing more of that point position, gathering that intel. As LG, they're super split across this road. They're not going to overextend. They're not going to cross over because it's such an open valley. It's very easy to take damage on those rotations.
Yeah, and they've got a 2-1-1 split as well. Like, you got Bisler and Vox on the same side of the road as 55 are, while on the opposite side, Gats is just holding down that compound with Snakers. So they're pretty happy. This is just, you know, to use a term that our good friend Matt likes to use, this is just harassment. This is getting rid of helmets, damaging vests. It's an investment into the long term. And here's a big investment by Toyo in the short term. They get the knock onto Sparking. He goes down. He's a mile away from the rest of the team. And Emmy from Toyo will be able to pick up this flush. And that's going to be tough for Team Liquid. Losing one early, and that gets Toyo off the mark.
That's the risk that you take when you play those splits, though. And I'm sure Liquid, they're going to be competent in taking this one. I know that Sparkin definitely tends to be a super aggressive player in terms of handling those wraps, playing in those off angles. And as strong as he is, when you play the number of games that a squad like Liquid do, you have to be almost used to when that rotation, that flank player goes down, being able to play without them. So they're in a very strong position. Now it's just a case of holding up, consolidating. I wouldn't expect them to get super split out of this compound now. I think they probably just hold it, see how the circle takes them. I think that the 2-2 splits that we maybe see Liquid do fairly often aren't going to be as prevalent in this game going forward.
Yeah, it'll have to be a 2-1 split for the rest of this map for sure, with the way that they're playing, but they'll manage. You know, we see teams take casualties early inside of TPP. It's not an infrequent thing to happen, particularly on a map like Miramar where everybody's rotating in. Carito here, they've got themselves that uncivil compound all to themselves. That's some PUBG lore for people who might be newer to the game, named after the player that played in the Americas for so long, called Uncivil. And you know, I'm a fan of that. I love it when players have an impact on a map in such a large way that part of the map is named after them.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it shows just how long this game has been around, how much lore there is to it, and how, you know, how long this competitive scene has been around. It's amazing to see some old school names still in the lobby as well. And the circle, well, it's typical PUBG, isn't it? Goes hard over to these, cutting out the majority of these teams. And this is a very difficult area of the map to play. I'd expect to see a lot of teams cluster up around Mirror, Al-Qudsiyah's position, just because it's the only real place that has ridges. We might see a couple teams go far down to the southeast in terms of their rotation, play out of Impala, but it's a very open circle for the majority of it.
Yeah, well, Mira have gone for the 2-2 split now. They're not going to twist just yet. They'll stick with their position as it stands. Al-Qudsiyah, in proper Al-Qudsiyah fashion, they've extended out quite significantly. Roth, he'll fall back now a bit closer towards D, who's got Rello not too far away. But this is what they tend to do. They play wide splits, and you can just see Cowboy now getting his position rotated past by LG. They've got to be be careful of PD, potentially dangerous in Minas Generalis. And Roth is about to drive right through the middle of them. And Roth now, he's going to get T-boned on the way past. And is he going to get out of it? Roth, great shots. Cowboy has done just enough there to keep Roth alive.
I wouldn't say that was the best pit maneuver from Roth, but he put in the work in. I mean, Cowboy, he tried to land the shots, but he just wasn't able to. They got just down behind the dip enough to be able to get them a little bit of extra cover. Die, though, nice damage onto Vox. It's going to be Rello in the end who claims the knock. Gats also gets peppered down a little bit as Rello just focusing on popping out those tires, making it difficult for LG in the late game. And these are two very strong and aggressive squads. One thing I will say is LG are a little bit more split right now down to the south, so they're not going to be in a great position for regrouping, especially now that Vox has gone down and they've got that solo player with a vehicle that only has 2 tires left.
Yeah, and all of the high priority positions have been taken as well. You can see Al-Qudsiyah, they're holding 2 of them. LG, they've got the trailers in the middle of the road where you're not going to keep your vehicle safe, but it's a tough position to push, so they'll hope that the circle continues to center on them as they're in the middle of the zone. the likes of Toyo, they're going to find hard cover difficult to find in the 6th map. They might be able to play some ridges and rocks, but they're possibly going to have to make a crash to make a position stick. They're driving from pillar to post here, but they can't really find anything, Chunks.
I love this spot from Penella Good. This is one of those where I feel like for a while we saw so many games end. Maybe not in a circle like this, but you'll end up having maybe 2-3 teams around this little ramp area just because of the little bit of cover that it's able to give in a very open area. Penella Good, though, they've decided to group back up in the compound down to the south. They're really going to be hoping that this circle moves down towards them because it is going to be a brutal rotate ahead of them as teams now finally start to make their way in from the northeast. We've got OMG and Typhon Gaming both heading down towards Team Casito at truck stop, so we may see a fight kick off soon here. It's Penella Good. I love seeing a Bolty, but right now just not able to find any of those players, not even taking a shot to give any info away.
Yeah, he's scouting as things stand. That's all he really can do is Team KZito. He's got a Varus will spot Karak moving towards the saloon. He'll drive right on by, moving up on top of the road. And then Ali will start to fire off. And there's Fairhopper finding the knock onto Varus. And that's going to be on the opposite side of the ridgeline as JO809 will get a tag off onto Alirv as well. So the enemy of the enemy is my friend. OMG have just bought Typhon that rotate. But look at that for a shift, Chunks.
Empire have just bought the zone with how that shifted. That was unexpected, to say the least. I wonder how Alcudia are going to approach this now, because they're in a 2-2 split. It looks like they're going to try and group up and play the same compound. I think a crash is almost inevitable from another team sooner or later. But when we were saying about a team like Penella Good, like Toyo, that have really difficult rotates ahead of them, they're going to be scrapping for positions as Bizler gets a knock onto Kurt, flushes it out as well. LG now down to just 3 players, but putting in work. That's the second Liquid player to fall, so only Alo and Luke left up, and they are playing a whole lot of nothing right now.
Yeah, and Liquid just caught, you know, they're on the rotate. Every position's kind of been taken already, so they're forced now to put themselves into the shack. LG still inside the zone, but if this shifts away from them, they're going to be in a nightmare of pain making their way in. And, you know, it's not done. A team like LG can battle their way out of positions like that, but just keep an eye on how the zone progresses. But I agree with you. Team Empire, inside of Cantera, inside that bowl, have got a great position. My only fear, Chunks, is the way Cantera, the lay of the land with it being a bit of a bowl. If it shifts away from there, or it doesn't quite center up in their position, all the teams that elect to play on top of the ridgeline will get free shots off into them.
Yeah, and the chance of it going dead center into that bowl are very slim. You also got to remember, if they have to move up to the east or the north, you've got a team like 55 Esports who are going to be in a really good position to try and hold them out. I think the worst possible zone shift for the majority of these teams is it goes up to that northwest towards Minas Graveyard area. For us, it's probably the best zone as Lobes tries to go for a spray onto Olivia, not going to be able to finish off the job as Robert returns the fire. Pure RNG, they have surrounded Team Casito. Valiate with a nice spray, but he just can't finish off the job. Olivia pops out the vehicle, but he's out in the blue now. Frag grenade going to come through, takes down Lobes. One return by Valiate. Seems a little bit far away, but no, I was wrong. Olivia to fall, and they are trading shot for shot, nade for nade. Robert tries to retaliate, but it's just too far from Valiate. There's only 2 players left up now for Team Casito, and Toyo a team killing.
Yeah, I think maybe we've seen a position where a player might need to get moved, but Bran will get that kill confirmed off onto Lobes. But we're inside the blue. It's phase 3. This is not going to tickle anymore, but Valiant, he knows what's going on below him. Robert, right on that ridgeline, spots him out, but Valiant, that's a great nade, landing it right onto the position, and Bran will get Ali back on his feet. Valiant spots Bran stepping out in the open. Great spray, finds the other knock as Ali will step out once more, but Valiant with another nade at the ready. This is brilliant from Valiant, gets another tag off, and that's Team KZito down.
Beautifully done there from Valiate to grab the position, to open things up and to rotate when the time came. Circle, it's centered up over on that crater, which is good to see. But, I mean, for RNG now, they're going to be in a little bit of struggle. I don't think they're going to be able to get the revive onto Valiate. They are pretty spread out right now with the difficult push to try and make. You got Foradora's Toyo, both holding them out of the zone, essentially, as Valiate will bleed. Toyo still keeping a player out in that blue. It's going to be Capitan trying to provide some cover as Penella Good, they're just trying to thread the needle. They've still got in check up to the northwest, a team that, sure, we saw them take some damage, take some shots on the rotate, but so far this game they've been relatively quiet, and I'm sure their trigger finger is itching.
Oh, you know it. You know that it is, but Rello, his trigger finger is working just fine as he finds the knock on to Kerak from afar, and that zone shift that we spoke about keeps Cantera alive and well, and LG will live to fight another day. But at this point, Liquid in a shack, that's a position everybody's going to want. Al-Qudsiya, their position is really difficult to push because you kind of have to go straight through an open field, and that'll happen. Look, Snakers, he'll catch out OMG as they make their way in, and it's just shooting fields here. This is easy for LG to find these knocks.
Yeah, this is the difficulty with this part of the zone. It is so hard to rotate. The vehicle about to blow now, and that's going to be the end of OMG. Roth there to finish off the final player. Team Mirror also taking out Carito up on that northeastern side. They have a compound to work with for now, but again, they are just not inside this circle. I think their only real option here would be to try and maybe take LG or go towards Al-Qudsiya, maybe play some ridges up to the northwest, but they are so exposed if they choose to go with that option. I think a lot of teams now are really just praying that they get the zone shifts, because this is a brutal circle and we have a big hillside that we now need to take into account on the edge of Cantera.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Toyo. The blue zone is at their back. It's moving this way, so this is a fight that they're going to need to take on. Now, Foradora are the team that's just ahead of them. They are the gatekeepers, as up through the sky. Let's see if it is any good. It's close, but they're in hard cover, so it's going to make it tough.
It's the first shot. They've got plenty more to try and adjust it. I was going to say PD might actually have an angle onto this, but no, I don't think so. I think they are just blind firing right now, hoping for the best, making small adjustments. That one was close to Samcro, though. That could have been very dangerous indeed. On the other side of things, though, Mirror, they're finally making that rotate. They've actually headed all the way down into pure RNG, but they've lost two on the way. Penta playing in an off angle. Nicely done from Gats to blow up the vehicle. Only Fakeson left up now for Mirror, using that deployable cover as best as possible. Pure RNG are in a tricky situation as Jam got knocked, ultimately going to be getting flushed out. It's a 1 versus 1 with plenty of third parties looking to try and get involved, as Penella Good also now moving their vehicle to the position. We might see a lot of fights taking place on this southeastern side very shortly.
Yeah, I'm liking this. This is really a 1 versus 1, but Penta cannot move from this position, but Penella Good sure as hell can. They're going to start throwing it up over that ridgeline. A wall of nades being tossed as Fakeson will take a little bit of shrapnel damage, a little bit more, but at some point, Senor Latino will peek over the ridgeline and get the information that Fakeson is right there. Fakeson moves, footsteps will have been heard. Senor Latino hears him, but he steps into the smoke once more, so it's going to be drawn out the fight a little bit longer.
Almost trying to outlast Penta right now as the smokes keep popping up. Penella Good, it looks like they've used all of their lethal utility, throwing in some flashbangs to try and get an angle. He's seen the smoke go down, so he has an idea that he is still inside there. He's not quite outside. Flashbang over the top to take down Senor Lutinho. Not completely eliminating him from the fight as Penta, well, he might be a solo, but he's not stopping. Big spray onto Gats to get the knock. Gonna try and convert it over to a kill before he switches his attention over to Snakers. 4 kills on the board for pure RNG, but make it 5 as he takes down the final player from Team Mirror. Fakeson was under a lot of pressure, but now that pressure has just transitioned over to Penta as he has to try and navigate 2 separate teams surrounding him.
Yeah, Penta's doing a great job. Placement points are still a long ways away, so it's all about finding the kills when they come. Jumping our attention up towards the north, though. Roth will find the knock onto Psycho as P90 fire will come this way. And Roth, he goes for the repeat, but Tony, he's like a tiger. He stepped up into the space and he manages to find that next knock as Al-Qudsiya They're in a spot of trouble now. Rello in the open. This is not where you want to be in this perspective. But he gets the knock on to Tony. And Kerak is too far away to help. And they're going to get the res off.
Rello sticking it. He's keeping an eye out over this ridgeline. They're not sure where that final player is. Empire, they were happy with this zone shift, but they're not going to be happy now with potentially Dangerous making a send in. They've got 2 knocks already. Slabby is going to be solo by the looks of things on top of this roof. Typhon fall down in 12th position as RNG Penta somehow still alive, somehow still taking fights, but he's not able to convert that one. Loots up off the body, maybe trying to get some util. That's exactly what he gets out of it. Beautifully done. He can have himself a little bit of smoke cover for the time being, as Toyo, they get eliminated by Penella Good. Still 1 player left up from Foradorus. It's no cap. He's running out in the open as LG end up falling to in check as well. It is a mess down on the southeastern side, and we still have 4 squads standing in this position with the zone about to pop, and it's forced a lot of them out. In check could potentially try and set up a bit of a roadblock here.
Yeah, but look at the feed. So many players, so many teams have dropped in the last few seconds, and another one is on the chopping block. Penella Good trapped inside of this bowl. Foradores managed to get the res off on the other side as well. But for Penella Good and Jackie team and Foradores, they're going to spot each other out first. So this fight is going to be a very difficult one for them to take at this point. So they just want to stay alive and hope that one of the teams will deal with the other first. But this is all for naught here, Chunks. This is for the south side of the circle. But I'm actually looking at it. Whichever team gets out of this clean has got a lot of space to work with. And Njeke team are the ones that are best placed at the moment.
I was about to say, this could be really advantageous for Penella Good right now. If they can almost bait out shots from Foradoras, then they almost gives them a free pass to get up that ridgeline through this little valley, but that's not going to be the case. As Warlock peeks up, it's going to be Andrew who gets the knock. He's looking to try and convert it over, but Luke 12 steals it away. Actually, no, he gets a knock of his own over onto No Cap. It's Foradoras that are now losing players on the other side. Andrew using the third person to try get the high ground as Alcutia eliminate 55 Esports. We're already into the placement point, and I expect to see those points start gaining rapidly soon, as these teams are really going to struggle to get out of this position. Liquid, they shift their attention over to Alcutia, but they need to be mindful of Cowboy playing a little bit of an off angle. Not a really traditional position to be in, considering how open it is, but he does have a Bronco. He's going to try and make the most out of it.
Yeah, he's on the move now. The question is, can Alo hit the shots that matter? Andrew, full information. He knows where Gringo is. He knows where Sonics is. He sprays the first few shots down, but none land. But that's great information. Look at the stun grenades being thrown up over the ridgeline so that Andrew can have the advantage in this fight. But still, everyone stands. Alo will find that knock on the Cowboy as he was rotating through. So not quite making it in is one of the members of Alcudia. But for Team Liquid, 2 players up, 2 points inside the top 8. This has been a great pullback in this game for them so far.
Alo doing what he can to try and get another knock, but not to be right now. Penella Good, they're spotted out. Gringo goes down on the rotation. Selfish follows up with a second, supported by Andrew, catches the spray. They've still got 1 player left up. It's going to be Warlock. Flashbang comes down. That would typically indicate a push from in check, but I don't think they really have to right now. As long as they can keep pressure on this position, he's going to struggle to make it through. He does decide to move down the hillside, though, as Warlock, he peeks up, gets taken out. Penella Good out in 7th place, a difficult spot to be in, and now in check, they've got control of this southern side. We have spoke about Empire a little bit, but we haven't focused in too much on them. It looks like they've only got 2 players left up right now, and they've been covered by potentially Dangerous, who have been able to move in to the crater. Slabby goes down, which will provide him a little bit of respite, but ultimately in check, they've got the high ground, they've got the zone control, they can hold out teams from Crater Field, from Cantera now.
Yeah, I think what happened was exactly what we expected. When you're inside that bowl and a team has information on you from the outside, it makes the push a little bit easier than it normally should be. Now, here's the position that they find themselves in. You've got Njeka team providing overwatch over the top, keeping an eye on PD and Empire. Empire, they've got to deal with PD to the north as well. So their position is not a good one right now. They're hoping that the herd will be thinned significantly by the time they have to move. But Liquid looks like they've got a massive blind spot here, Chunks. They have no clue that Tokyo has to move. And with the blue being there, don't be surprised if once the blue hits Tokyo, he steps up and goes to the shot. And that's exactly what happens. He spots Alo, man down, get your point. Great job. And the nade, that'll be curtains. But for Foradores, great job. There was no other points available. Take what you can get.
Yeah, the chance of being able to sneak your way in is so slim there, especially with players down to the southwest. And now that leaves Luke in no man's land as a solo. Look at how much ammo he's got. He had 3 bullets in reserve, but he's decided to switch over decided to go for the reload. Is in check. They're trying to make the most out of this high ground where they can. The circle is centered up. Luke is still putting in work, and he actually gets a knock out of it. Thankfully, he does have a barrel, so it's not going to be all 5.56. He does have a little bit more to work with, but a very difficult position to try and make his way out of here. He's got a nice ridgeline, but either way that he goes, he's going to have to expose himself to one team. There's Alcudzia Roth spotted out in the open. Not sure exactly what he was trying there, but ultimately he gets punished for it. Luke 12 again able to steal the point away.
Yeah, and this is the problem, right? Alcudzia are so good at taking space and playing with it, but when they start losing parts, those parts are going to get cleaned up. When you're so far away from the rest of your team and you're going to suffer that knock, it's usually a point on a platter. Now, you look at that circle shift and you get ready for this next one that's about to occur. Usually, phase 8 will basically donut inside the circle, exactly where that drop is going to go. And that's exactly what happens. So the drop is the center point of the circle. Alcudzia is still in control for the north, but this Empire PD fight, it's kicking off, and Slabby gets that first knock onto Shin, and now you've got a Panzer pushing in. This is dangerous.
That is difficult there as Glock gets caught with the Molotov. He is going to move back. Shinboy is flushed out. They're going to try and use their util here. It's one of the only opportunities I think they're really going to be able to get to use it at this point. This hill fight is just going to be really difficult if they try and take it in the end. Liquid, Luke 12, he preps that underhand nade. That could be big onto the 2 players that jumped out of the vehicle. They have been able to split off just enough, and in the end, it's Selfish who gets the kill. Michael is eliminated first, though, which gives Team Liquid that 4th place. Nagaton tries to go for the long-range spray up the hill onto Runzira, but unfortunately, he's just got too strong of a position. Andrew takes down Cowboys. Alcudzia now down to just a solo. In check, 9 kills on the board. They are making the most out of this position, and they're still not overexposing themselves. They're being very calculated with how they take these fights. Potentially dangerous. They are running some numbers right now, and it is not looking good. They've only really got Glock inside the zone. The other players, the only option for real cover is to either sprint up that hillside, hope for the best, or you play the very edge of one of those buildings.
Yeah, this is even though the numbers are heavily in the favor of PD and the Jekka team, I don't think you can rule out D just yet, because these 2 teams are going to have to lock horns first. Now, RNZ spots out Glock, but he's able to push right up and close and personal with that ridgeline, and that cuts off that line of sight. Now, with RNZ's position essentially fluid, he can peek up from any part of this ridgeline. That puts the real problem onto the sides of PD, because you don't know where Njeke team are going to peek from, but Njeke team, they're going to know exactly where you need to push from.
Yeah, they've got good control onto this right now. Being careful not to take those peaks when they don't have the advantage. As Glock just gets absolutely lit up, ends up blowing himself up. They're trying to respond with some explosions of their own onto potentially dangerous. It's Andrew who manages to get the knock, looking for Slabby as he runs out in the open. It seems that he's been able to make a break down the ridgeline just in time. Navaton goes down to the frag grenade as Glock bleeds out. I guess denying the points in a way. Only going to be Slabby left up. It's a 1v1v3 in check. Really have the numbers advantage here. Everything is seeming to lead their way. They've got a read on to die. They've already landed some shots, forcing him to keep his head down. A lot of pressure being put on, but in check, they just need to keep focusing. Slabby goes down to the zone. It's only going to be D left up. Throws out a BZ nade onto the crate. Suspects there will be a player around there, which is exactly right. Andrew forced down to the hillside. He's looking in the wrong position, but as soon as D pops up those shots, the position is given away. Andrew with the spray catches a little bit of damage, finishes off the job, and it's in check saying checkmate for game number 1. 11 kills, an amazing way to start their evening.
Yeah, no horsing around for them as they take that first one with a 21-point game, and it's probably the best that I've seen them play in a long time. Great for them to kick things off the right way, and with that, they get a jump start on the rest of the competition. But Chunks, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. We've got a lot of games of PUBG to play over the weekend, but that's a great start for them.
Yeah, we've got a lot of games of PUBG, but we're still kind of in that territory with the 12-game format where instead of it being one big game can get you into that top 8 and ultimately the prize pool, it maybe takes 2 or 3 big games now. So that performance from them is going to be a really good starting point, but we want to see a couple more of those confirm themselves in the top 8. You know, it's finding that balance now. Obviously, when we're in kind of a best of 16 series, then we say, okay, you really have to have consistent and 1 or 2 really strong performances on top of that. I think with the 12-game format, it still allows you to have those couple of explosive games which solidify you into the top 8, which in this scenario don't qualify you for anything except for the prize pool, which is ultimately what these teams are all playing for.
Yeah, it's all about prices, right? At the end of the day, you got to get as much money out of this as a player as you can. You got to win as much as you can. And the JK team will have certainly given themselves a good chance with the start. But as I said, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And they've got themselves on 21 points. Al Qudsiya not too far away, 14 for them as they picked up 8 kills of their own. But look at pure RNG. 6 kills, no placement points. But boy, did Penta put on a bit of a show when he hit his back to a wall.
Oh yeah, and they were in a really difficult position from the time that they had to move in from the southeast of the circle, so it's really impressive to see what he was able to do. And I am really impressed by the fact that there was only one team that wasn't able to get any points. It shows that it was a difficult game. Sometimes you can read into the leaderboard and almost get a feeling for how the game was. When you get in, every team is getting 1 or 2 scrappy rotation kills, then it means that teams really did struggle. And in Czech, they got themselves into a good position. They made the most out of it, but ultimately that was a very difficult game that these teams had to try and navigate. Hopefully in game number 2 for them, we see something a little bit more organized, but I do like seeing the kind of spread of points throughout the leaderboard. Very few teams on a donut.
Yeah, that's what you like to see. Most teams starting off positively, getting points on the board. We can't promise an incredible next game, but one thing we can promise is that we will be back after this very quick break, where we will bring you through our second game of the night. Don't go anywhere. You know the game is right, just like that ad said. It is PUBG here, and it is the PUBG Players Tour Super Cup, the first ever Super Cup that we have had in the Americas. What's the difference between a Super Cup and a regular cup and the Masters, Chunks? Well, it's quite simply. A regular cup is a 2-day, 8-map event. A Super Cup is a 3-day, 12-map event, and the Masters is a 3-day, 18 map event. I had to do my maths quickly there. I had to work it out, but I think we got there together, right?
Yeah, we should know by now we never trust caster maths. We're probably completely wrong on that. It's probably like 24 games or something, and we've just botched it somehow. But yeah, it's about, you know, the variance in formats, isn't it? When we see the Masters, and I spoke about it towards the end, just at the end of that last game, where when you get to the Masters, it is all about consistency and really strong games on a consistent level. I think the good thing is when it comes to the 4 games per night series where we have 12 games, there is still that opportunity for a couple of squads to come out strong and just have 1 or 2 big performances, which is what we keep harping on about in those player cups. It only takes 1 really good game to get yourself into the top 8, and ultimately if you can kind of have those consistent games of kind of 4 points per game is the number that Cammy threw out a couple of weeks ago, and then you can have 1 or 2 really good performances, yeah, you're going to be taking home a bit of cash today.
Oh, I love it. I like some cash money. You know me. That's the way it is. And I'm an accountant, so of course I'll keep an eye on it. But these players, they'll be counting on a good performance this map around for them. Chunks, as the flight path will take them from the northeast down to the southwest through Hosan Prison. It is a 2 o'clock all the way round to 8 o'clock flight path. And I think the players will be pretty happy with this.
LG aren't going to be happy. They're getting pressure now. Carito, they're a team that in our last game were the only squad that weren't able to get any points. They're going to hope to try and turn things around here. It feels like a lot of the time when you take these hot drops, you're always destined to get at least 1 point, and now I've probably cursed them. But it's going to be a difficult fight to take. Yet again, another hot drop. It's going to be Typhon. Tony, he tried to make something happen with the sickle here, has actually picked up the gun, so I'm not sure whether the other players have a gun that they're able to shoot. In the end, it's Glock, picks up the shotgun, takes down Tony, and I just want to quickly draw your attention to the map. That circle has popped all the way down to the south all over again. This is something we've seen a decent amount of in the Players Tour so far.
Yeah, they love it. They love keeping the water on the south side of Tago in play. And potentially dangerous, they're going to love this circle if they're able to pick up this wipe on to Typhon. They'll get these kills, then they'll be able to move south. But if you move south, traffic is heavy. But Typhon are not an easy task at all. You can see Sam Crow crawling by the polytunnels off in the distance. He's going to work his way around on the opposite side of things, but potentially dangerous, drawing first blood.
Yeah, potentially dangerous position though, as Typhon are going to be applying a lot of pressure soon enough, I'm sure, as it's actually going to be Gabriel who spots out the player first. He doesn't have any ammo in reserve to work out of, so he needs to be careful with these shots, especially if that player from Typhon is able to close the distance. Sam Crow doing what he can with that rock. I'm not sure whether he really has a read on exactly where those shots came from, other than, hey, I'm safe behind this rock, I'm going to stay here for a bit longer. On the other side of things, though, LG, they are closing in. Bizzler is playing point as they try to get aggressive onto Carito.
Yeah, Bizzler opens up the door, stepping forward, clearing room by room, but not standing still in case someone is waiting. Richie will be making a lot of noise on the other side of the road. He steps out through the open, and the Bizzler, well, that's about as free as they're going to come. Lopez will try to get some instant revenge on the other side, but Bizzler, they've got a 2-way angle being held, but one good nade could be a problem. Bizzler, sensing the imminent threat, will reposition out of the room. And now Kerry, he got inside the car, but the nade from Gats was perfect. And Team Carito, they tried to drop inside of Terminal, but it was Terminal for their teammates as Luminosity were in a great position to pick up those 2 kills.
Carito, they're going to be backing out of this one. You can't blame them, but they have taken 2 casualties and they've got nothing out of it. I guess I did curse them in the end. Potentially dangerous. They're trying their best to swarm, but Psycho with some really nice shots from the off angle, not able to convert it over to anything. They're in a tricky position as only a 2-man. They are super split as Alcudia. They're also starting to move into this. Roth has heard the shots, and I mean, Alcudia, they're always willing to take a fight no matter how early in the game it is. They've already got a kill on the board and they are looking to add to that.
100%, and I think that Al-Qudsiya are in the perfect spot here. They've got a grip around them, but over on the other side of the map, the team that's got a grip of top spot have also got lobes in their sight. They get that knock, they're looking to get the flush, but that's a good timer, and I feel like the rest of pure RNG, they're just not interested. They've fallen on, they've repositioned themselves, they've given up Lopez, but the battle will continue, and it's Rello finding out Psycho as PD steal the kill away. PD up to 2 now.
Al-Qudsiya making the most out of the third party. They maybe don't want to commit to this for too long because they still have a little bit of ways to get into the zone. Glock with a nice Panzer takes down Karak. That's going to be Typhon falling in 16th, but that's not the end of things as the third party is continuing. As we see now in Czech, they've spotted out pure RNG. They've already got the knock onto Lobes. They nearly get a second over on to Valiate as he tries to go for the revive. The smoke is still there for cover. And you can just tell this is a typical PUBG safe res, as you've got a tree, you've got a smoke, but there's so many different angles Czech could get, especially with players up to the northeast.
Yeah, now Selfish throws an 8 in through the midst, but I don't think it's going to go far enough, and that's exactly what happens as we go picture in picture. Roth on your bottom right is going to get dealt with by Gabri as they try to wipe out PD, and Roth will get cleaned up. So Al-Qudsiya sent Roth deep. Roth falls. They now fall back off of this one. PD with 4 kills, and they've got 1 member of Al-Qudsiya down. And with that, Al-Qudsiya, they're going to cut their losses and they'll move inside the circle. So great start for PD.
Really good way to start things off as Penella good. They're going to look for a good start of their own. Liquid, they've closed in. The nades are already closed. Kerr, Alo, both getting a knock apiece. Really kind of concise fight from their point of view now. Nicely done to finish off the job. Sonics gets flushed out. They're going to try and take down Senior Latino as the rest of Penella Good, they've decided to wrap away up to the north. Going to send it into the compound, which is free for now. But if I know anything about Artego games, somebody is going to push onto this sooner or later.
Oh, 100%. Like, it's a phase 2 circle. In a phase 3 circle, you could argue, inside of this one with so much water in play. Empire finding themselves in a really good position again. It's not like them. We like to see them on the edge in the blue, meting their way into the placement points. But so far tonight, the PUBG gods have been good to them with the positions that they have played. Now, I'm looking elsewhere. All the teams are in the zone, right? Except for Toyo, PD, and LG. I feel like it's not the worst thing in the world for them to delay the push into the circle. Let some of the teams that have gone in early free up some of the space, because space will open up. It's only phase 1. You're not going to take too much damage.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision to make, though, isn't it? One team I do want to kind of draw attention to over on the map is actually Foradoras. They were all the way up to the north by that kind of broken bridge area. They've taken the E-pickup. They've gone all the way down to the south. They didn't have any info, and they are very close now to pure RNG. The same thing can be said for Liquid. There's so many teams clustering up in that small area. It's going to make things really difficult for them. Carito, Chiquito, being careful not to overexpose himself. They want to try and get some points out of this game after getting 0 in the last, but it's going to be difficult to take a fight out of this compound. Because if a team is able to recognize that you're a 2-man, it's almost inevitable you end up getting crashed. And Team Mirror, we've seen just how aggressive they're capable of being over in our previous Player Cup.
Yeah, they dominated. They've not quite been... You know, it's only one game in. They didn't have an incredible game number 1, but they can pop off at any moment. I've sung the praises of every single player on that team. A player whose praises I've sung for years now, though, was Bale Frost, as he just makes a lot of noise. Look, you might be wondering, he's firing these shots. I'll be honest with you. If you're watching this and you're wondering why he's even shooting here, he doesn't expect to get this knock. He's firing, you know, in the hopes of doing some damage onto Capitan, but the main thing is to be a barrier and stop Toyo from pushing this compound.
Yeah, Empire are playing very split right now, which is something that we are used to seeing off of them, and I always get shaky about it. Even though I know that they're competent, they consistently know when they need to group up, I always get nervous when you see players taking these 2-2 splits in such a congested zone. It kind of opens things up for a push, especially when you've got a squad like Toyo nearby, who, again, we've seen them get really aggressive. They are not afraid to take a fight if they identify the two-man. It looks like Bale, he's going to be repositioning a vehicle for now. I think it's just getting ready for the rotate when the time comes so that they are able to quickly group up. OMG, they're just playing the South Coast. They've got nothing to worry about. They are having a beach vacation, at least until the end of Phase 1.
Yeah, they're going to play that split as well. It's a bit of a 1-2-1 where you've got one player Fairhopper scouting on one side. You've got 160804 scouting on the other. The whole purpose is to just gather a lot of information. You know, you can fall back, you can be mobile, you're not a million miles away from your teammates. I think a good rule of thumb is to always be within 10 to 15 seconds of your teammates if you're rotating by car, so that if someone's getting pushed, you've got time to move. Now that circle for OMG Chunks, it's going to be a problem. They now need to move in. Toyo are probably going to leapfrog them as they move in. You've got Foradores there as well. That's a bad shift for OMG.
Yeah, this is a bad shift for a lot of teams here when you saw just how many of them were kind of off to the west side and how many were in the center. We've only really got one team that's truly in the northeast, and that's going to be LG, who are already making their rotate. Alo throws out the nade, tries to connect over onto Empire, not to be, as he follows up with a couple of shots, just trying to find that opening. He's got the mini in hand, but it's difficult to line those shots through the back window. Finds a couple of them, but not able to convert just yet, as Empire, on one of the vehicles has flipped. This is going to be difficult, even more difficult now that Alcudia have also moved into this position. Toyo, they're sending it as well. This entire kind of western area of the zone is becoming so congested so quickly just because of how many teams banked on that northwest area.
Yeah, and then way off to the south, OMG getting caught out on that rotate with the circle being a problem for Adores. They're the team to find the knock. Toyo, they're on the north side of Song Am now. They've got pure RNG not too far away with 4 players up. Alcudia to the north of them. Empire just to the northwest as well. So everybody's just trying to find a home. Now, things will become really hectic if Phase 3 shifts up towards LG. If it gets rid of a big chunk of Song Am, if not all of Song Am, all of these teams are going to start killing each other because you're not getting out as the first team, you're not getting out as a middle team. You've got to be the last team to leave by killing and picking up all the points on your way through. So just be ready for Phase 3 potentially causing mayhem.
It feels like the only team that is actually able to do a semi-safe rotate out of this position is going to be Liquid, but even then, they've got Luke 12 out on his own. They're going to have to try and move as a team and hope that the shots kind of get spread amongst all of their vehicle. There's now pure RNG. They try and land some shots over onto Foradoras, not able to connect, as Foradoras, at least they now have a vehicle. They have been able to group up. They might have a possibility of getting out of this, but they want to focus in. They realize that most likely teams are going to have to push over them to get into the zone. So they are prepared to take this fight. They want to get those kill points stacked up. As Capitan opens up onto Luke 12 again, he was that solo player. Alo's going to try and get the res, but it's not going to be an easy one. Liquid might be down to a 3-man early on again.
Yeah, this is not the way Liquid would have had their night starting if you ask them, but they'll do their best to stay alive. Now, Luke 12, I think that Kurt will go for the res. Looking at it, Kurt's already on the move. He's going to go for it. I think it's very difficult for the other teams to push this position. So Liquid with a good bit of smoke cover or even just a pick up and move should be able to get Luke back on his feet. And that's what's going to happen. Luke will get rezzed by Kurt with Alo providing covering fire on the opposite side. But elsewhere, it's the calm before the storm here, Chunks.
It seems so. Everyone is relatively settled. Even those squads that are down in Songam can kind of chill out for a little bit. There's no imminent kind of threat of a team pushing. Everyone is just waiting out to see where that zone pops, and it actually moves over towards Songam. So those teams that are settled up, they're going to be pretty happy with things. Same goes for Empire, as they can now kind of play this hillside potentially and fire down, potentially third party onto any engagements that pop off. It does seem like Liquid, they're going to group back up after losing Luke. This is good to see from them, setting themselves up in kind of a gatekeep position if that zone moves over to the east. And I mean, considering the size of the next phase, they're almost guaranteed to be somewhere near it.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and I don't think we're going to get an awful lot of action inside phase 3. Like, these are all just feeling shots that are being sent over. Pure RNG, they don't want to cross the road. Foradores, they don't want to move either unless we get a knock or two. So, like our observer tells, he switches elsewhere because that's what you really want to do in this situation. Mira moving off because, as I said, inside a Songam, it's going to stay calm, Chunks. It's not going to get overly hectic. It'll stay quiet. You'll have teams kind of send out feelers, like you do see one member of Foradores falling, but I still don't think Pure RNG are going to cross this road.
No, I don't. And I think one way that you can kind of get a read on how the zone is going to go and how fights are going to kick off in cities like that is util usage. You notice that they're all saving their nades. They're not getting aggressive on it. It seems that in Czech, they're trying to get aggressive onto the rotating team. Foradora's going one by one and somehow not really taking any damage. Infinite manages to get down into the dip. As in Czech, Foradoras are going to be pretty happy with their new position that they've claimed off of Luke 12. But what I was saying over in the cities is basically, if it's an imminent engagement, the util is the first thing to go out. You want to weaken that team, close the distance. And when you're in a position like this where there's not really much being thrown, it kind of gives the read that teams aren't ready to push yet. They're going to wait until they absolutely have to, which in a city like Songam is absolutely the right play to be making.
Yeah, that utility will be best served elsewhere. But here comes a big move. Rello with a great spray will find Glock, and then Gabri's going to get caught out as well. So it's all gone wrong. Al-Qudsiya gets some revenge for Roth. It might not come as quickly as they would have wanted it to, but it comes nonetheless. But Empire reading the kill feed, thinking that maybe Al-Qudsiya could be reeling off the end of that fight. They're going to third party, but look at Team Liquid putting in covering fire from the north side. And that push by Empire, that's been slowed down. Punage will pick up some goodies off of his fallen teammate. But Slabby, he's not done yet. Al-Qudsiya, they've still got to deal with him. And with Rello down, this is by no means a finished fight just yet.
It almost seems like some mortars are coming down nearby. Not sure exactly how close. As unfortunate time to peak there for Cowboy, but they do finish off the job. It's going to be Dai who gets the spray onto Slabby. They're going to try and get Rello back up, but it's a bit of distance they need to cover, and they need to do it quickly to make the most out of this circle. We did see one of those Empires just sitting in a bush earlier, getting ready to throw out a nade. This could be a perfect opportunity for Punage to try and make a bit of a peek onto Al-Qudsiya. They are all going to be grouped up. He's got the bolty in hand, so maybe not the best gun for this kind of range, but all it takes is one well-placed frag, and Al-Qudsiya are going to be in a really difficult position.
Yeah, D's going to go for that res on Rello, but the thing is, I think that the Liquid are still their biggest allies, because Empire can't push up over that ridgeline and get within proper util dump range without Team Liquid firing from afar. The circle hangs on to Songam once more, and you can see that E-pickup has been called by Penella Good. They want to get past Team KZito, who know exactly where Penella Good are. Liquid are just going to reposition because they've got all of this external section to themselves that they can play. But the big question is, do Mira contest them for it, or do they play the south side of this ridge, as both teams will have somewhat of a, would you say, it's not really a symbiotic relationship, it's more of a parasitic one where they'll both kind of leech off of each other, and then at some point one of them is going to cause the other one irreparable harm.
It certainly seems that way, as Mira, they have posted up Carito. They're going to send players up to the north. They have just been all over the place this game and not really anything to show for it just yet. I'd love to see that distance traveled stat later on, as Kawazine takes down Chiquito and ultimately takes down the vehicles. The Panic Show is stranded out in no man's land, out in the open, gets taken down, but now things are finally starting to kick off down in Songam as Toyo Capitan gets the opening knock onto Gringo, follows it up onto Warlock, and that's the end of Penella Good out in 13th position.
Oh, Capitan, my Capitan, doing it as he always does. 2 more kills on the board for him. And now LFP, they spot out Vox. Now you can see the shack just below. Smart money would tell you there's a player inside it. LFP doesn't have any nades though. No blue zones. He's got a couple of mollies, but it's a risk to go that far. So instead, tension is going to be focused a little further north towards Team KZito, who are moving in from that northern side. And I think Team KZito, if they can just about play the terrain right, they'll be just about okay.
Mirror, they want to get aggressive on this, but they need to be cautious of those Casito players up north. Fakes in, will group up with the rest of the team, which is now clearly given away the position to LG, but they are just not in a good spot to actually make anything out of it. The circle getting ready to pop. We will see where it ends up shifting. Surely Songam is going to pop off sooner or later, as Pure RNG still remain alive as a 3-man, but they are split up. The circle moves over to the west. Empire, Alcudia 55, all looking really happy with this one. I'd assume that now Liquid probably try and group up again. That seems to be the case, and my eyes are drawn to LG and how they choose to approach this one.
Yeah, I think that LG have got a big decision to make. Penta, though, making a decision for his side, as Benya will get knocked, and now he will want to push more. Now, he has an issue. No dangerous utility in the back pocket, so he can't really push over that ridgeline just yet. But here comes a push in Team KZito. Oh my god, they're getting more holes put in them than Swiss cheese by LG, as they're just blown apart, and LG move up some kills. And see the kill feed, it's all kicking off even more so inside Songam. Liquid getting knocks from afar, but Pure RNG pushing aggressively towards Toyo.
The Bizzler doing some business right there, supported by Snake, as is now Pure RNG. Beautifully done to get these opening knocks. Really nice nade coming out from Lobes to take down that Toyo player. Capitan tries to respond to them with his own. He knows that they're going to be over on this wall, but there is just no intel that they're really able to gather. Penta, he's going to push through the building as the flashbang comes through. He's supported by Valiate, playing for trades here. Really basic things to do, but executed flawlessly. Emmy has tried to move all the way to the other side to get himself a bit of an off angle, but that's left Capitan a little bit stranded unless he gets the revive. T-Plens from 55 trying to defend against a push. Mirror, he somehow jumps over the wall. I don't think that was intentional, as Mirror now facing real trouble on the crash. Third party coming out though from in check, taking down some players from 55 Esports. Kawazine tries to make something happen with the Panzer, does exactly that. Fake is to fall. There's 55 in some real trouble on this crash. It is just trading back and forth. There's another trade happening. Is going to be Pure RNG. They're getting aggressive. Foradoras fail out in the kill feed. Pure RNG, they've spotted out Emmy. They know his position. He's down to low HP, and they finish off the job. No, they don't. Never mind. I was tricked. Capitan is the one to fall. Emmy's still alive on 1 HP. Manages to get the knock onto Lopes as well. This is a huge play from him. Tries to pop the med kit. It's not going to happen in time. Flashbang just a second too late as Penta finishes off the job, but not without taking casualties.
While all that was going on, battles continue to erupt across the map, and Jeke team, winners of game number 1, inside the top 8. They've got Kurt pinned behind the truck, as you can hear nades being thrown this way. RNZ closing the gap on the northern side, but 2 are not going to be aggressive enough to step over just yet. Empire, they lost a couple. It's Punij and Shinboy, 1 player if each in these 2 separate sections of the map. Circle, though, donuts up right on top of Alcudia, who have also just been given the gift of as many drops as they could possibly want, and they'll be pretty happy with that.
This is really good for Alcudia now. They need to try and make something out of it. They've got plenty of ammo. They can get aggressive, take those long-range shots that maybe don't result in anything, but at least keep teams' heads down in check, trying to make their move onto LG. As Liquid, they are preoccupied on LG as well, just focused on holding them out for the time being. Sparking does get caught with a couple of shots, nothing too significant, as Kurt tried his best to provide that Recon fire a couple of shots, but he ends up getting his head cracked, nearly knocked out by Vinny. As Liquid, they've had to switch their attention. They are getting ready to close in. They know that they're going to have to take fights on 2 fronts at this point, and it's going to be made a whole lot more difficult as Luke 12 falls. Nice name from Bizzler as Snakers ends up blowing up his own vehicle, taking down his teammate. He looks to follow up with another nade to finish off the job onto those enemy players, but right now he's just not been able to. And LG, they want to get this res. It's not going to happen anytime soon if Kurt has anything to say about it.
Yeah, Kurt's stepping up and he's got himself a couple of kills on the board already. And he's going to hear the footsteps inside. Halo spots it out, but LG will suffer another knock and flush in this battle as they try to make something stick. But Gats has got a presence. Sparking, he's holding down everything from the south as Gats falls. Luminosity down at 8th. Liquid, they're being given the chance to consolidate now, and Jackie team will start dumping utility this way. Sparking behind the shield, but he's got full sight lines now. Once they step out from the mist, RNC is going to get caught out by Luke 12. Sparking sprays through the smoke and he catches out Selfish. It's all down to Vinny. He smokes the other side. He wants to close the ground onto Sparking here, but it just ain't working his way, Chunks.
Beautiful spray there from Sparking. He knew that they'd be running down that ridge line when he saw that player pop up over the top of the ridge. His teammate is the one who got the kill in the end. He kept his head down, kept his position unknown, and allowed Incheck to open themselves up. Vinny, he's got some heals to work with, but he just doesn't have time as the nade comes through from Luke 12. That's going to be Team Liquid finishing off the job as Empire now finally taking an engagement over on the western side up against Furhopper. It's a 1 versus 2 as the OMG player is going to be pinned and ultimately eliminated out in 6th position. We have 5 teams left, and Al Qudsiya is still dead center. They've got a good read on where these fights are kicking off, and now as more players fall, the pressure is starting to ease for them. They just need to focus on gatekeeping.
Elsewhere, Al Qudsiya still center circle. Mira, 2 players up to the north as Kawazine and LFP have reigned misery over on Liquid for quite a while now. 5 kills for them as Al Qudsiya get the circle once more. Pure RNG, they've got a couple of players up, but Chunks, it's about time Liquid get on the move, and a knock like that onto Penta might just be the opening that they need to get on the move.
Liquid, 12 kills on the board already. They're going to try and convert that even further with a win. Shinboy catch him on the RNG players out in the open, fires some more shots down in Valley 8's location. But they only land on Penta's dead body. RNG trying to find an opening as Liquid now making the crash. It's going to be Alo who's the first one to close in.
Alo, he's got a Stingray in the back pocket. No offensive utility other than that, though. Cover on the other side from Lobes. Finds a little bit of damage, but not quite enough. As Valiant, he's got some explosive utility of his own to throw this way. Lobes is going to get knocked by Shinboy, though, as Empire push on the other side. This is problems here for the side of Pure RNG, as Liquid, with 3 players up, managed to get themselves inside the circle now. And as we've just seen, Chunks, Empire do have sight lines inside this valley.
Luke 12 pops up, takes down Valley 8. That's Pure RNG. Eliminated out in 5th position. Only 4 squads left up, and only one of which is really outside the zone. Sorry, 2 squads that are outside the zone. It's going to be Empire and Team Mirror, both trying to make their way in. Now, Empire's position is known, so they need to be a little bit more cautious about this, but Mirror have been able to wrap far enough that they're probably not going to have a read on them right now. Shots come out over towards Poonage, but LFP is already prepping the frag grenade. 2 to land on the same tree, but he's already moved away from this position. Now heading down to the shack, and Kawazine places another one beautifully, just a little bit undercooked maybe, and not giving Empire enough time to get away. Smoke grenade comes out. Poonage trying to get aggressive, using that 3rd person to his advantage, but that Molotov nearly made it difficult for him there, just inches away from catching him. As Die with the P90 finishes off Alo. Liquid starting to face some real trouble down to just a 2-man, but arguably 2 of their most mechanically gifted players are the ones left up.
Yeah, D, though, he's insane. He manages to find that knock and flush. Qudsiya coming to life now. Rello will find one onto LFP as well, as Empire get a favor sent their way. Kill will be confirmed out now as Al Qudsiya hit 5. 3v2v1v2. Empire, They've got everybody still up, and Shinboy, sorry, the 2 players are still up as Shinboy finds that knock on to Kawazine, confirms it out. 6 kills for them as they have control now of the West, but Al Qudsiya, they have not moved an inch for the last 20 minutes, Chunks, and they've been gifted circle after circle after circle, and with the numbers, they'll be really disappointed if they don't get this over the line.
It's difficult, isn't it, when you get a circle like this? You've been gifted so much, but when everyone swarms at once, it's hard to try and defend. They've only got a couple more players to try and deal with, but on opposite ends of things. So you can see Rello, he's just throwing down a smoke grenade, making sure he's covered from behind and that he can hold on to this angle. He's just trying everything he can to find something onto Shinboy. Actually throws down a shield for a little bit of extra safety. He maybe saw a glimpse of Shinboy, but nothing concrete, nothing that he's going to be able to make anything out of. As the zone will start moving, it is going to maybe force Empire a little bit further in. Poonage is currently the only player inside the zone, and he is barely safe by laying prone.
Yeah, and as you said, though, the blue zone's going to force him to move even further in. Luke 12, he's got Sparking on his back. They're playing the hedges on the side, but Al Qudsiya know exactly where they are. Empire should have a pretty good idea as well, having seen everything that happened a little earlier. Problem for Poonage, his secondary is a bolty, which is not what you want in a situation like this, and they need a knock. Qudsiya know they're here. Like, for Empire, they need to smoke off one direction, focus on the other, and just brute force their way into the circle.
It's difficult, though, for Empire. It looks like they're going to try and run slightly over to the east. Poonage is just going to be laying prone, Sparking, using the bushes for cover. I mean, the whole of Liquid are right now. I think they're hoping that attention gets drawn over to Empire after they've popped the smokes, but everyone is just being hesitant to move. Now that final dot has popped. I wouldn't say it really favors anyone unless you could say it's Al Qudsiya, because they still have the numbers advantage, but they're going to have to move out of this hard cover. Granted, they've got plenty of util to try and work with here. They can throw a smoke ball, they can use these ridge lines, get over to the center, but it's not going to be easy. They're still going to be opening themselves up to at least one squad. As Poonage, he's thrown down the shield to the best of his ability to try and get some cover. Goes to pop the first aid as the nades land through. Poonage falls. Shinboy now the final player left up from Empire Gaming. He's forced to drop prone behind the vehicle, decides to hop in it. Why not at this point? Reverses down the hill for that little bit of extra cover. Luke 12 just can't connect with the shots.
Liquid, 13 kills on the board now. They could get more points than Al Qudsiya, even if Al Qudsiya get this over the line. D with a knock on the Luke 12 and Sparking. Liquid falls. 8 kills now for Al Qudsiya as they look for that 9th. Sprinting full forward towards Shinboy. They've got a P90. They've got the angle, and Al Qudsiya get the win. 19 points for them. It's a big win. Liquid will go level with them with 19 points as well, but that's a big win for Al Qudsiya. 1600 damage, 9 kills, 19 points.
Really impressive way to, semi-start off the evening for Al Qudsiya in their second game, getting 19 points, but we got to admit, it was Liquid that stole the show there. The amount of fights they were able to defend at once over in, I think it was like phase 6, was really impressive to see. And yeah, that was just a messy early game there for Corito. I think they might have got 0 points for the second game in a row. The only team not to have any points so far on the leaderboard. But Liquid, they started out aggressive early. They were taking fights left, right, and center. Just did not let their foot off the gas until the very end. But unfortunately, when you take that many fights, you're destined to lose a couple of players. And that end game as a 2-man is a very difficult one in such an open position.
Yeah, look, it was tough, but they'll be happy. 19 points. They flowed through the lobby at times, and they got themselves inside the top 4. Al Qudsiya, they had the positioning. Like, Al Qudsiya's position was perfect all game long. They held off a couple of big pushes. They did well for them. We missed it on the stream, but after this, Kawazine went nuclear. He pushed the big red button and wiped out what was left of 55 Esports. Here's another look at how Empire got another point on the board for them. But yeah, Liquid were phenomenal. A lot of points on the board, but take nothing away from Al Qudsiya. You have to win the games you're supposed to win, and that's exactly what Al Qudsiya did with that one.
They were clinical with it. Obviously, they tried to take a fight early on. Roth maybe got a bit too aggressive in terms of fighting onto the compound rather than kind of holding back on the hillside and third party. And he wanted to push in. He wanted to take the fight. And they did lose a player because of that. But ultimately, they made it work regardless. 19 total points. Only one ahead of Liquid, though. An Empire game. And I got to say, they stacked up some decent points as well, making it into that late game with a couple of kills to go alongside it. A lot more of a disparity between the top and the bottom end in that game. Maybe not as scrappy. Some teams just really struggling with the way that zone played out.
Yeah, Typhon not having a great start to tonight. You'd expect more for a team like that, for that caliber. But good points all round. Like, for the teams that did eat, they ate very well in that game. And here is your leaderboard after 2 maps. Al-Qudsiya are in first. Liquid will overtake Nzeke team, who did have a decent game as well. They got a couple of kills on the board for them. But Empire in fourth, RNG in fifth. Like, the teams at the top have done really well on the opening 2 maps.
Yeah, really impressive indeed. It's just a question of now whether they can keep that momentum going. When we talk about these slightly longer format events, you have to favor the teams that are used to playing in best of 18 series, and it seems that that's been the case so far. When we look at Al-Qudsiya, Liquid, InCheck, Empire, all teams that, you know, they're used to playing at the top level. They play in the longer formats. Now it's a question of keeping that up. If they can get their points per game similar to what they have done, which is no easy feat, then they are surefire to be in the top end of that prize pool going into Sunday.
Yeah, plenty more games to play though. We're just 2 maps down, 2 more to go on the night, and then another 10 more to go in total. But we're going to jump into a very quick break. When we come back, it will be a trip to Rondo. We'll see you guys in a couple of minutes.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, we're the heavy metal. Real live main stage, tear it up, rebels. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
ways through the night with 2 more games left to go. But Chunks, we are going to Rondo next, a map which is usually just a little piece, a tiny fraction of a competitive weekend. Usually we'll see it 3 times. We only see every map once a night, so this map takes on even more importance than it normally does in your standard 6-map format.
Yeah, I think a big part of the 6-map format is when you play those maps that you see less, you can almost count them as throwaway games, for lack of a better word, where they aren't as important. As long as you have your core maps down, you're good. You can salvage the points that you may be missing Rondo. But in this format, every map has equal weighting. We've got one of each map tonight, one of each map tomorrow, one of each map on Sunday. So it's all about making the most out of this now while you can, because, you know, that clock is ticking. There aren't a huge number of games left. Granted, it's more than we get in a usual Players Cup, but you need to start thinking about, okay, things aren't working. We've got a new map. Let's try and make something different.
Yeah, and Rondo, of course, brings in a couple of different factors as well. There's always the chance of a double flight path, but thankfully for the viewers at home, to keep things nice and straightforward, it is a north to south single plane flight path, which, oh wow, quelle surprise, what a surprise, has a chance of a test track circle.
See, I know that you guys like to clown on test track because you see so much of it, but we haven't seen a whole lot of it. Granted, we have seen some endings here in the Players Tour, but in the grand scheme of things, we've seen a lot of circles that maybe we don't get as much of in your standard PAS games, where they do tend to have a habit of gravitating over towards test track. Now, test track is going to be the first place I draw attention to, though, because we've got both LG and Typhon landing down here. Again, it's one of those positions that you can have 2 teams in, but these are 2 aggressive squads, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see an early game fight between them.
Oh, I'd love it. We've seen a lot of early gunfights in this map in particular, like phase 1 rotations. I've seen a lot of teams and a lot of players falling. So with that, keep an eye on where the circle goes, because it has a massive impact on how this plays out. But looking over a little bit further away by the basketball courts, we have got Team KZito, who really need something to go their way. Roberts, he's going to get caught out, though. His teammates are nowhere to be found, Chunks. And Foradores will find the first kill of the map.
Tokyo taken down low, but ultimately not out of the fight. He's going to be running around trying to get some meds, as Team Casito, they're not really in a position to try and fight this. They are super split up. They tried to go for almost a 2-2 drop, and they were punished because of it. Now, Typhon, they've got the eastern side of test track, and the circle pops away from it. What did I tell you, Gibson? I knew this wasn't going to happen.
Oh, but watch it keep going north now. Watch phase 2 and phase 3
Toyo in
going
prime
north.
Position.
I'm begging for a tin long gardens, because I'm going to say it. The devs have put so much work. The map designers, you know, the artists have done so much work on the south side of the circle, making it look incredible, and we never get to see it on screen. Tin Long Garden is one of the nicest looking parts of any map inside the game, and I would love to see a circle go there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see something that we don't see all too often. It'll be a nice spot to end up, especially when you see kind of the verticality aspect that's down there. It forces teams to play a little bit different than you maybe get in your standard kind of Miramar games, where teams are in very open hillsides. It's a lot more kind of ridges, nooks and crannies, which I think would lend really well to TPP. As we hop on board with Infinite, he's not even got a helmet. He's got no bullets in reserve, only the shotgun and the M4 single clip to work with, so it's going to be difficult. Tries to go for the spray, and yep, he's all out of M4 bullets. One more would have done the job, as he catches Varas with the headshot down at the end. I think he maybe suspected it was only going to be a solo. It's Foradoras then now getting lit up by LG. It's Snakers in the end with the QBU that finishes off the job and going to immediately look for the flush. Foradoras, they try and get the trade, but Vox with a beautiful headshot take down I Am Tokyo.
Oh, they're cooked. They're absolutely cooked. Infinite, he's got nothing but a pistol in reserve. Atlas gets spotted out by Gats, and just like that, what could have been a pretty good game for Foradores has been turned on its head. Infinite, the only player left. It looks like Team KZito, they're going to go hunting. He's got himself a P1911, a couple of shots for the road, and he should now fall. First spray of damage is dealt. Infinite dodge, duck, dip, diving, and dodging his way inside. But Chunks, What is he going to do? There should be no meds. They should all be gone now. He should have always left inside his pocket. I'm a little disappointed that Team K0, knowing this was Foradores, didn't get more hyperactive or more aggressive on that push.
I think they were a little bit concerned when they heard the shots coming out from LG that they could potentially get backfilled as well. So definitely deciding to move away. There are going to be some meds up on the top if Infinite decides to check it. Ultimately, there's going to be ammo as well, but he's just going to run straight past it, and that is heartbreaking now. Just left with nothing. It's like me in a solo game.
It's rough. You play solos?
Hey, it's difficult to get a squad when you're working 9 till 5.
What a way to make a living. Honestly.
It's rough. It is brutal to play solos. I mean, I think one of the cores of PUBG is that social aspect, isn't it, of getting the squad together and going through the pain together.
It is, but I think we should partner on from that subject. What do you think?
Yeah, it's bit of a downer.
Oh, Toyo, no kills on the board for them, but again, a roster that's gone through a little bit of change, right? They've swapped it up. Capitan, Emmy, and Benya now have a new teammate to bring things up. Oh, here come Team Carito, the team with no points so far, and they will send Lopez on by Team K0, looking to maybe get some points on the board, but nothing to be found. But yeah, getting back on to Toyo, Chunks. It's a new look roster. Oh no. Alir doesn't have anything other than a red dot on his QPU.
Hey, landed a shot. That's impressive still. Not going to be able to convert it, surely, at this kind of range. Wishing he had a better scope at this point. As Team Casito, they are super split out. They need to start thinking about making a move because Carito are up to their northwest. Obviously, not causing too much of a threat right now, but they've still got quite a ways to go for all these teams. And Liquid are really close to the west.
Yeah, and Liquid are going to be feeling good about themselves as well with how good they've been at picking up points over the course of the first 2 maps. But they're going to go for a really wide rotate. Potentially dangerous. They're stuck inside the EMP, so the E-bus is pretty useless if they were going to use one of those to rotate their way in. But I love it, right? It gives it, when you're in the EMP zone, it gives like a real retro, like 70s, 80s TV vibe, you know, that the way the camera looks. Am I crazy, or do you see it as well?
No, I get it. It's kind of like you're watching on a VHS or something, like the good old days. That's right. I know what a VHS is. I'm not that young.
Yeah. So let's actually communicate with the viewers at home, because I know a lot of them are going to be too young. I remember renting videos from certain chains that are no longer around and having to rewind them before you even started. Like, the person who returned the video didn't even have the common decency to rewind it before you got it. And you'd see, like, the ending or the credit, you'd be like, God damn it.
I mean, it could be worse. My sister doesn't know what a CD is.
There's no way. There's no way she doesn't know what a CD is.
Does not know what a CD... I had to inform her on what it is. These Zoomers, man.
I refuse. I refuse to acknowledge anybody doesn't know what a CD is. Speaking of CDs, what about the people that were sick in the head? You know, your friends that would like leave their games that were on discs out in the open. They wouldn't put it in the box. What was more annoying to you, people who left the disc out in the open, or people who put the disc in the wrong box?
See, I am the guy who would always lose the box and then they'd end up getting shuffled around. But I have to say, leaving them out in the open and then having to just blow on it and rub it on your t-shirt in the hope it magically started working, I'm so happy we're past those days now.
The good old world of digital media. Speaking of digital media, they're all watching digital media right now as potentially dangerous here rotate their way inside the circle. The potential has not quite been lived up to just yet tonight, but there's always a chance things could kick off. Tinlong Garden, like we said, it's inside the circle. It's gone south. Danqing's there as well, as is a little bit of Jadena City. So a lot of those positions that people want to see, that we don't see often enough, have a real chance of being heavily involved as this game progresses. Oh, Michael.
I love this. I love this. I want to see a squad come flying across that bridge so soon, and then Michael is just waiting there with the Panzer. But, I mean, looking over at the map feed, I don't think that's likely to happen, as heartbreaking as it is to say. They have bigger fish to fry, though, when they look over to their west. They don't have the read on it just yet, but Typhon are very close by, and Typhon, they took the hot drop. They didn't take any fights out of it, so they are going to be eager to get involved in an engagement sooner or later.
Yeah, I think Team Corrido are going to be eager to get involved in a winning engagement. They've got no points at all over the course of tonight. They've got players alive and well. If you want to know where they are, because they're not on your screens just yet, you can go !map. Keep an eye on the map feed as Lobes will glitch his way around the roof. And Gabri's like, just stand still for a second, please. I have a delivery for you.
That's the old school Luke 12 method, isn't it? Just run around, make sure no one can hit you, peek out with that DMR, make something happen out of it. I'm going to get flamed for that one, but hey, I remember back in the day when he was playing from OCE, and that ping, it sure made a difference, and that circle is going to make a difference. Those northern squads, the majority of teams, though, are already going to be settled up inside the center of the circle. Liquid, they're going to be off to the southwest. They are probably going to try and grab that kind of southern hillside near the gardens, and you want to circle round here, Gibson. It looks like things could be headed that way.
I swear, if we don't get a panoramic scan over Tinlong Gardens, I'm not going to be happy. I want it. Give the people what they want, as OMG are currently the side that have themselves a bit of ground in that area of the map. LG rotating with Al-Qudsi not too far away, and you can be sure that Relo will take the opportunity to fire some ammo this way if he gets the chance, but it's LG that should off first, and like two ships parting in or passing in the night, they'll go a little bit further away. And a tire pop. Snakers could be in a bit of trouble here as RNZ starts firing this way, but great shots coming from the other side of the map as Pure are there. Snakers get spot a little bit of time, but do we see him get on the move? Because the tires are popped.
Vinny gonna try and find the opening. Not to be, though, as LG, they managed to rescue the player. They're still not safe just yet until they get over this hillside. They break the line of sight, and in check, not going to be able to finish off the job. LG, they're going to continue moving their way in, but it looks like they're heading towards the direction of 55 Esports, who are already themselves preoccupied with Toyo close by.
Toyo, they're in that position that we like to see them play. They drop close to here. They rotate in this area pretty quickly, but Pure RNG, Penta's scouting, and Team KZito not really close enough to find Penta just yet, but if he steps in the open for too long like that, Varus might just be able to land a couple of big shots. He's solo, he's alone. If he gets knocked, Chunks, he is a goner.
Bran, gonna try and find it. As the nades come out, his position is given away. Pure RNG, they're trying to kind of swarm round, entrap Team Casito as Valiant moves off to the north of them. He will continue for the time being, looking like he maybe wants to group up with his teammate. Bran did get lit up, has been able to heal, should be able to get over to his vehicle relatively safely. I'm sure Valiant is going to be looking for an angle, but he is going to be able to get out of there just in time.
I have a question. Have Team Casito, who are just about to potentially sustain a knock from Pure RNG, named most of their team after Game of Thrones characters? Because I see Varys, I see Roberts, I see Bran. Like, are they just all Game of Thrones fans?
I'm not cultured enough to have ever watched it, so I could not give any input on that.
You've never heard of Robert Baratheon, first of his name?
Never.
King of the Seven Kingdoms, Protector of the Realm.
Nope.
Never.
Nope. I'm uncultured.
I'm disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed as Jam sends some 7.62 downrange towards Team KZito, but they'll not sustain any knocks just yet. But maybe Penta, who's been watching and waiting this whole time, might wait to get a shot off, but I don't think that's going to present itself just yet.
He ran a long way out in the open, and he may end up getting punished if Team Casito decide to close up. not to be those. They are focused on getting over towards the circle as we gradually move east of the gardens. OMG is still going to be happy inside of it, but they could be pressured now by Team Casito, who seem like they're going to try and find an opening of their own. Penella Good on the other side of things, though, they're trying to deal with Michael, just causing a problem for them. He's not opened up with anything just yet, but the rest of Empire are starting to close in. They know that he is in a difficult position. I think it becomes a question of, do they try and provide overwatch here, looking down from the hillside, or do they try and group up? I would imagine that they're probably going to leave Bale up on this hillside for the time being, let the other players close in, and then they take the fight as a 3 or 4 man.
Yeah, Michael's just continuing to move. Punage is on the way, but Balefrost will land a shot onto Warlock, who was keeping an eye on that push, and that allows time for the rest of Empire to touch base. Michael now, he can get more aggressive. He's not all alone anymore, but Toyo, they're going to get the angles. If you go too far north, you open yourself to that angle. A little further away, a little further south. Typhon, though, they're going to lose K. Lopez.
Looks like the vehicle's starting to lose tires as well, so if Empire do want to try and retreat out of this, it's going to be made a little bit more difficult. That nade could be perfectly placed to take down some Empire players. Shimboy getting knocked as Punage also getting caught with a little bit more damage. Now it's becoming a bit of a util battle on the point of Penella Good. Shimboy flushed out, but Balefrost with the long-range shots able to trade it in the end. Penella Good should be able to get the revive off, but Empire, they could try and pressure onto this. They've only got 2 players, so still at a man disadvantage. Balefrost is a long way away, but he is closing that distance quick, and they are now committed onto this one. Frag grenades coming out. They've not been able to get the flush, but they nearly did, and nearly took out a second player to go with it.
Yeah, they had to. Bale had to push. Having lost Shinboy, Bale has to move now to try to make this fight a little bit more even. Senor Latino, he's prone on the other side of this wall. He's watching for any potential rotate around the side. He's actually inside the building. As I misread it, my old man boomer eyes didn't quite see that. Cowboys eyes, nothing wrong with them as they find a headshot looking this direction. And now Snakers with the QBU. He's firing towards Nzeka team. Maybe he can find the knock of himself. 4 kills as they've got themselves a team ace here. Chunks a kill apiece so far.
Gonna try and stack those numbers up. Valiate, oh no, just getting absolutely stacked on his head right by the vehicle. Nicely done there from In Check to get what's ultimately a relatively free kill out of it, not even taking any damage in return. Back on board with Empire, though, as it's going to be Alcudia third party, and Balefrost, Michael both fall as Punage flushes out Senior Lutinho. Michael getting eliminated with the nade. Alcudia have now taken Empire's position, and they're trying to make something out of it. Roth tries to go for the flank, eliminated in the end. They're going to maybe work over there to get that revive, but it's not going to be an easy one. Penella Good have nice angles onto this as they try and throw out a bit more util. First aid being popped. Penella Good healed back up. They're still a man down, but they are working to try and weaken Alcudia further.
Yeah, Roth still down, but there's a fight on the other side of the map here as LG are pushing up. Snakers will confirm out Vinny as even more pressures being put this way. Njeke team, who were winners of map number 1. It's been a tough sled for them ever since that point. Bizzler will take 50 damage, but Chunks, the blue zone is moving in as well, so this doesn't help either team. And look at LG's Vox going to cut off the rotate on the other side.
Really nice positioning coming out from Vox here, but they need to try and group up a little bit. They are so split right now, and I think it was Richie had no ammo to work with. Molotov lands perfectly onto Fanna's position. He gets caught with a shot as well, tries to pop the first aid kit, down to 1 HP, but it's too little too late as Fanna will be eliminated. That's Mirror out in 15th position. Alcudia, they are still providing pressure onto this. There's Punage, the final player left up from Empire, is almost hoping that they're going to be able to clean things out. Carito, they're taking an engagement.
Get your kill.
Richie gets the knock onto Emmy. There's now only Richie left up. 1 kill on the board. Their first point of the tour so far, and he is in trouble.
Yeah, I'm delighted. They get their kill. It's not a great situation to be in, but getting your duck broken's not a bad spot to be. Richie's back, though, is directly towards Toyo. He steps forward into the fray, but he's only on 5 HP. The noise of a bullet going past his eardrum would be enough right now, but he falls as we're down to 37 players alive. Still 3 teams in this compound. 55, Toyo and Team Liquid, and now Al-Qudsiya are moving off of this fight. They're leaving Punaj. They're crashing. They realize how weak they are. Rello on the drive-by with the Panzer, and this is a great crash from Al-Qudsiya, but it's gone bad pretty quick as Roth's the only player up.
Roth with the underhand nade, going to try and make something happen out of this. Toyo have also crashed into this one. Ball frags coming out, not connecting just yet as the player runs in. Blind, eliminated by Roth. As Empire still somehow alive in this one. Focusing over on towards Penella Good. Punaj preps the nade, tries to land it. It seemed like it was a little bit short. Gringo, Sonics both out in the blue. They are wrapping around. They are trying their best to surround Punaj as Gringo will be able to spot him out using that jammer backpack to the best of its ability, empties it out, and now he starts tanking that zone damage. Should be able to get the first aid off in time, though.
Yeah, just about. No, not even. Gringo will fall to the blue. Sonics, what are you doing going back from? There's nothing you can do other than maybe picking up some meds, some nades. But for Penella Good, things ain't looking good whatsoever. Typhon on the south, they can see Njeke team as shots are being fired that way. PD with a compound of their own as well, and it looks like Al-Qudsiya, they've got the res off here, so they're not too bad with 2 players up.
No, LG equally. You know, they've got a good entry towards the zone. Gats is just anchoring behind. Maybe has a read that there's an OMG player down here. Doesn't know exactly where, though. He's being very cautious about things, not wanting to overexpose himself. There's no chance, if he was to go down in this position, that LG are really going to be able to revive. They do have a vehicle, but he is going to back off, group up with the rest of his team. Typhon, they are spotted out in check down the hillside. Some shots being found as only the deployable shields there for cover, and they have to make a move in this next zone. LG are going to be looking down on them soon enough if they are not careful, so they need to try and get aggressive, make a move, but Typhon are causing a problem.
Yeah, Sam Crow looking to lead the bullets as best as he can in the Njeke team, but they pass the first test. Can they pass the second? And that is getting feet on solid ground. Shots from PD will force them further up the hill and closer to Typhon. They're just tossing down smokes here, Chunks. This is not fair. This is not good. Andrew is going to fall. Tony will go down as well. But look out in the open as RNZ. Surely Snakers can land these shots, but he can't.
Snaker's doing everything he can, but he just can't connect with them. Typhon coming under a lot of pressure now as they've been forced to back off from in check. A nice nade finishes off Tony. They've got 4 kill points on the board. Selfish now trying to return that fire over to LG. Neither team is safe with LG looking down on this. They want to focus on the fight, but it's just not possible. Nade comes up. Nice shots landing on towards Naviton. Ranzira tries to run round, doesn't realize the player's still inside the smoke, and Andrew, he ends up nading his own teammate, takes down Sam Crow alongside it. 2 players left up now from Typhon. They're throwing up some nades of their own to try and finish off the job, at least salvage the points, but Ranzira goes down to the blue, and now Typhon, they're going to be backing right off of this again.
Yeah, Psycho's all by himself, and he's got LG not too far away from this position, but Kerak was throwing those nades into the blue to attempt to get the flush onto the team knock on the other side. Psycho preloads an 8, throws it out the window, throws another one, hoping to take everybody down with him. He gets 1, he gets 2, he gets a 3rd. Psycho living up to his name inside the shack, wipes out LG. He's up to 4 kills. And yes, you have 4 Luminosity players, but that cannot deal with 1 Psycho in a shack.
8 kills on the board now for the team. Nicely done, but Baki, he's going to fall as well. Infinite from Foradora's the final player left up, doing some damage onto 55 Esports. He's being wary of this doorway, needs to be cautious from behind. As soon as he peeks out, he manages to get himself the kill. 55 Esports, they gather 1 placement point, but they do fall in the end. Alo going to be able to pick up 1 of the points onto that as well. Foradora's Infinite, he's got plenty of smokes. He's going to try and make the wall, but all eyes are looking his way from the point of Team Liquid. Al-Qudsiya also off to the east. They are ready to try and salvage up whatever is left over.
14 players, 7 teams. That's an average of 2 players per team. It goes to show how heavy of a bleed it is in TPP. PD with 4 players up are basically the only team that way, as Foradoras will be the next to fall. Infinite dropping out. He did well. You know what? He was solo for oh so long as we get that replay. A nade is tossed on out. You see shots from far. The nade actually didn't get any kills until the very end there, Chunks. But that's a great hold inside that shack from Psycho.
It just shows how powerful a pre-nade can be when you're holding onto a shack like that. He's got plenty of loot to work with now, so if anyone else decides to make that push, well, he's going to have things to say about it. Alcudia, they're focusing their attention down to the south. They know that Team Liquid are going to be making a move soon after taking that casualty. It gives them a little bit of an opportunity to move. Sonics from Penella Good fully focused into this, but he just cannot land the shots that he needs to. And now he's got to deal with Alcudia getting up close and personal. Relo hanging out the side of the vehicle catches a little bit of damage onto him, but it's Luke 12 from Team Liquid that are now causing the problem for Alcudia.
Yeah, Liquid with 3 kills. Alo getting knocked though will slow things down just a little bit, and it allows time for Alcudia to get some first aids off. Nades being thrown, but it's not going to go far enough to wipe out Sonics with a boom. Another nade will be thrown. The stun thrown as well, but Sonics with the blue at his back here, Chunks. He takes a lot of damage off the back of that first one. Roth is going to throw down some deployable cover, maybe hoping to find something off the back of it. Another good blue zone nade. But surely Alcudia deal with this.
Really nicely done there from Sonics. He grabbed a lot of damage through the smoke already. Relo's going to be inside, and when he's using the third person, trying to get an angle, I don't think he realizes just how close Relo's going to be. It's Glock from long range who catches the off angle as Relo closes in. He knows that that shield is down, throws down yet another one. He's not inside the zone, though, needs to place another, and it's Sonics who somehow comes out on top of that, defending the push from Alcudia, making it into 4th place for Penella Good.
Yeah, and on the other side, Liquid are really doing a number on the potentially dangerous. First knock found. Blue zone nades being thrown up and over as Luke 12 tries to scale the wall but can't quite get the angle. But Slabby looks too close to be able to get the res. Kurt on the other side. Alo down to 23 HP, but all this fighting happening outside the circle as Luke 12 will get that kill confirmed. But Liquid need to deal with this fight quickly to not allow Typhon to really get too much information on the other side inside the circle.
Liquid, they're trying to close in, but they still have to finish off potentially dangerous, and now it's going to be Sonics again getting aggressive, trying his best to third party, takes down Alo, looking for an angle to try and get the flush. It's not to be just yet. Luke 12, he's taken out from underneath the vehicle. It's only going to be Kurt left up on a bit of a salvage mission right now. Will try and get over to Alo, but ends up having to drop down behind the smoke for a little bit of safety. For a solo, Sonics is putting in a lot of work right now for Penella Good. Gabriel down to low HP, just hugging that wall for everything it is worth. As Typhon, 8 kills on the board. No sign of slowing down, even as a 2-man.
That's frustrating for Kerak as well. He could see the gun, but just could not land the shots. But PD with 2 players up. Glock will fall as well. The blue zone getting angry. Psycho spots out Sonics, but only tags it for 22. Another 40 added on top of that, but Sonics gets inside the circle. He is still alive. He is still kicking. Kurt, he's right there. Kurt, you could see him, but he wasn't aware of the fact that Sonics was in the position. Psycho is, though. Psycho with a headshot, and that's the 10 bomb for Typhon.
Really, really impressive game for them. Even as 2 players, they are making it count. And let's not forget that potentially dangerous are the only other team with multiple players up. They've got 2 of their own. So Typhon, they really have turned this game on its head so far, getting yet another kill, 11 on the board. As Kurt falls, Karax is looking like he wants to try and make a move, but needs to be careful. Potentially dangerous land the spray. He will be able to get over to a rock. Typhon, they are just focusing on splitting up right now, clearing, not necessarily taking 1 versus 1 fights, but kind of limiting the number of options that potentially dangerous have to work with.
Yeah, well, Kerak knows where they are. Kerak's got eyes on both, so this is just about Kerak staying alive long enough for Psycho to move on the other side. I love this, and that's exactly what happens. Psycho will step up, gets a 2-tap onto Gabri, and it's all down to Nightavon again. Typhon know exactly where they are. He's got a nade in the back pocket. He's got a blue zone. He's got himself 2 stuns, but Typhon have been phenomenal, Chunks. This has been a really good map for them.
You talk about salvage games a lot of the time. When you lose those players early, you kind of salvage to try and make anything that you can out of it. And this is, I mean, above and beyond anything we would have expected coming out from Typhon. Amazing work here as Naviton gets the knock from the edge of the rock. Nicely done. Gonna try his best to clutch this one out. He's got the MK. It's a powerful weapon at this kind of range, but Karax with the AWM. It might just be a case of who lands the first shot here. As Typhon being very careful, Karax is going to be just reloading, covering things. Naviton goes for the peak, but nothing being given away by Karax right now, and Naviton has to make a move to get into the zone. Karax doesn't. He's got the luxury of staying where he is.
Yeah, but Karax got the level 3 helmet and vest as well, which gives him the ability to ego peek. He doesn't have to be as cautious. Gabri feeding the information, so Kerak will deal with him with one shot from the bolty. But running out in the open now is Nidavon. He will hit the deck. Kerak goes for the little quick scoped one tap, but it ain't gonna happen at the first time of asking. Now Psycho's gonna feed that information on the other side. It's his time to be the portable UAV for his team. But that deployable cover, that could come in clutch, Chunks.
If he can make something out of it, I'm almost tempted to say maybe move away from the cover, catch him off guard, because Karax right now, you saw him just pre-aiming onto the top of the cover. He's actually going to try and make a move. He's going for a flank here. Nitavon doesn't have a read on this. He might have heard something. He's using his best to... He's doing his best to make something out of this third person to try and spot it. But right now, Karax, he still doesn't have an angle. He's getting the AWM ready. He knows roughly where that player's going to be. And Nitavon finally turns around. It's a 1 versus 1. Spray comes out. Damage being found on both ends. But in the end, it's Karax who clutches up for Typhon Gaming with a 13-kill win. And I gotta say, Psycho has no small part to play in that win.
Yeah, Psycho did really well. That 1v4 versus LG was incredible. And then at the end, he got that knock and basically put enough of a timer in to give that a win for Typhon. 23 points. It's another double-digit kill win for the winning team, Chunks, and that's good. Like, getting the win is good. You get 10 points off the bat, but when you're doubling your point with the kills again, on top of that, you really give yourself a good chance.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't get over Psycho's play earlier in the game. I'm sure we're going to see it over in the highlights, but that was an absolutely huge moment for Typhon, and it really pivoted the game around. Otherwise, they would have been stuck as a solo, so he really put in work to eliminate Team Liquid, who ultimately would have been in a good position going forward if he hadn't done that. It might have been LG, actually. I might be getting myself mixed up. Alcudia, though, they got over-aggressive on that compound, unfortunately. They tried to take the fight. They tried to backfill, and it just seems like anyone who was in that compound was able to defend it extremely well. And again, from Psycho, I can't harp on about it enough. That was huge, and it ultimately, it didn't directly win them the game, but it played a big factor in it.
Yeah, it did. Like, every little decision a player makes has an impact on who wins. Sonic's here for Panella Good. He had a pretty good game for them, getting them into 4th place, but this is the flank. Psycho making this move and Kerak providing the cover from to do so basically won that game for the side. It was a great opportunity maybe for PD to turn that into a win in the 1v1, but the level 3 helmet, the level 3 vest, the high ground were too much. And there's your point tally, Chunks. So once again, 4 teams not picking up any points.
Yeah, it's rough here, but Carrizo have got one finally. It was difficult for them in the first 2 games. They've now finally been able to get their first point, so at least every team in the lobby has themselves some points. I wonder, though, as we go into our final game of the evening, whether we are going to see like a real shake-up when we head over to Erangel, what happens and how things are going to adjust. But let's take a look over at the overall standings first, see how that game has affected things. I'm sure Typhon are going to be up there, but it's still Alcudia with the lead, even after what I would say is maybe a bit of a disappointing game. They're so kill heavy that the placement is kind of a secondary for them. They were able to get themselves a couple of kills. They kept that point average good, and that's what's kept them in first place.
Yeah, 41 points, 22 kills. Liquid with the same amount of kills, but just a couple less placement points see them in 2nd place. But the point drop-off is significant from the left, from, you know, the top 3-4 down to the rest of the lobby already with just 3 games to go. But Chunks, thankfully, every single team has gotten off the board as far as points are concerned.
Yeah, it's good to see, but I mean, the disparity between first and last is already absolutely huge. I will say the middle of the pack is going to be really interesting to watch right now, as we see that variance from like 24th down to 14th. That's only 10 points at any team. Even if you're down in that bottom half, you still have a chance of having that one good game to wrap up the evening, get yourself in a good position, and give yourself a little bit of confidence going into tomorrow.
One good game can turn things around, but we're going to do a quick break while we get ourselves turned around and ready for Erangel. We'll be back in 2 minutes with our final game of the night.
Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier.
The first night of the Super Cup is almost over. There's just one map left to go. It is Gibson joined by Chunks. And Chunks, it's going to be Erangel to finish things off.
It sure is back to familiar territory for many of these teams. I mean, I guess every team should be familiar with all the maps that we're playing at this point, but as we always say, this is home for PUBG. This is where it all started. Let's see how things will wrap up tonight. Really impressive performance coming out from Typhon Gaming there to be able to get themselves that chicken dinner. Psycho stealing the show. I want to see them carry that on because it feels like they have been a team that can be a little bit hit or miss so far in the Players Tour. They have some really big nights, and then others they're just not quite able to. So one more game like that, they're going to be looking really strong going into the rest of the weekend.
It's the thing that I always talk about with these teams. A lot of teams have really high ceilings, but the gap between the ceiling and the floor is also quite large. So we need to see them raise that floor, get the bad games to be serviceable, you know, a couple of points in the bad games, and they will certainly be in the running. And that's what Liquid have always been good at, Chunks. They've always been good. Now, I know they didn't qualify for PGS, but historically, this team is so good at damage limitation games. When things are going wrong, they're still at the very least getting, you know, a point or two, so they're not leaving empty-handed.
Yeah, it's about consistency, isn't it? Even when you're in those games where you're struggling, you got to make something happen out of it, and that's something that, I mean, they've always been able to do really well. So it's just a case of hoping that they can keep that momentum up, keep just consistently getting those points in. I mean, yeah, Team Liquid, they're a very strong squad. Not if you look at the power rankings, but hey, we'll ignore that.
We will not go there. We will not go there. I spoke about it earlier offline, but we'll not go there. But Circle going from Georgia Paul down to Novo, going from the northwest down to the southeast. It's 10 p.m. down to 4. Chunks, with a circle like this, almost any zone is possible with Phase 1.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see where that phase one pops. Obviously, with a playing path like this, teams are more likely to spread out rather than kind of when you get one of those really western, really southern zones, teams are forced on top of each other. And it seems like Typhon, they're going to try and carry on that momentum because they are taking a hot drop early on. Circle, relatively center, relatively standard. I don't expect to see too messy of an early game, but you never know.
You never know is right. Nidavon knows where Kerak is, though. The star of the last map by getting the win at the end will get knocked and probably flushed pretty early as the circle does pop. It centers on Potato Hill and Apps just north of it. One thing I've noticed, Liquid, knowing that Falcons aren't here and knowing other teams aren't here, they've gone for the Pachinki drop instead of their regular George.
Yeah, I mean, why not make the most out of it? It is the strongest drop in the game in terms of not only the amount of loot that you're able to gather, but also the rotations that you're able to make out of it. Why not try and switch it up, see what works? When you have the opportunity to get the strongest drop, you've got to try and take it. I mean, sure, it's going to be a bit of a change from the norm in terms of how they approach these games, but, I mean, these players play so many matches, and if there's one thing I've learned from dropping in Pachinki in my ranked games, it's that the pros always end up there and they are very adept at playing out of it.
Look, it's a staging post. The way I always say it, it's perfect staging post because even if you're not in the circle, you're never going to be far because you're slap bang almost center of the map, so things can never be too bad. Unlike for teams on the other hand, like, you know, was it like to drop Millie? If things go north, they're in a bit of trouble. Up towards the north, and Zeke team in North George, if the circle goes too far away from them, they have a long ways to go. That's why the likes of school apartments, Pachinki, you know, shelter, in and around that section of the map, that's why teams like to drop there, because it gives you the opportunity to move early, and it always means that those rotations are never that bad.
They do need to be cautious, though, because Mirror, they're starting to head over towards Pachinki. I'm not sure whether they're going to maybe assume it's free because of that gap in the lobby. I'm sure they're not going to make any assumptions this early on in the game. But this is one of those compounds that can cause a bit of a headache if a team decides to rotate out to the west of Pachinki. I think they're going to get the read now that it has already been opened up and looted, so they know that there are going to be players about. I don't think they're too concerned about an imminent threat, but it's just going to be in the back of their minds that, hey, there could be someone around here. Let's play a bit more proactively, but still be cautious that someone could be around.
Yeah, look at the positions they're taking as well. They're taking the warehouses on the edge. They're taking the church to the north of Pachinki. Like, they're not going too cautious to the wind, but they're putting themselves in an area where they can scout out Pachinki to see if Liquid are still there. And really, a team that drops a Pachinki at this point will have usually extended a little further away. You know, Sparking might have gone up towards Potato Hill, which is what Falcons would usually do in this circle like this to take that section of the map earlier. Maybe even going north to north, you know, like Mini Potch, where you see Benya playing right now.
Yeah, a good position from him, but it seems that Luke 12, he kind of has a read on where Fana is going to be. He's being very cautious about this. I think that Mirror getting in aggressively like this is really them trying to assert dominance, play those proactive positions, and it's going to be a bit of a frustration for Liquid, as that is one of those spots that you would like to play when you land Pachinki and you have a circle like this.
100%. This is exactly what you want to do. Now, Luke, having the information on Fana, has to be very careful with his next move, because Chunks, if he's too loud, he's got to realize that Fana will have friends. They might not be in that same position, but they're never going to be too far away. So if he gets himself caught in the open, he could end up being the first casualty of the fight. So really important for Luke 12 that he thinks about his next move.
Being very calculated in how they approach this, not wanting to overextend, expose themselves to any of the Mirror players, so they know just how deadly that could be. I do wonder whether Mirror actually have a read that there are players inside of Pachinki here. I don't think anyone from Liquid has shot. I don't think that they've seen any vehicles from the position that they're currently in. It might just be a case of Liquid are trying to wait this one out. It's almost like Mirror are trying to bait out shots from Liquid so they can get a read, and Liquid are almost playing one step ahead and saying, hey, let's make them think that we've rotated out of here already. And with Toyo up to the northeast, if they start taking shots, they might just think, hey, I guess Pachinki's clear. That must have been the team that was in there.
Yeah, keep an eye on it as Njeki will spot out a few members of Empire on the rotate. Michael attempts to land a telling blow, but now he's got to be careful of RNZ coming the other way, and Andrew will set the seat swap and gets the knock onto Michael. Now he's got to be careful about going for this flush because he is only 1 HP, and that will allow a little bit more time for the rest of Empire. Another seat swap, another drive-by, another Empire player falls. This time it is Shinboy that will fall with that taste of lead, and Bale Frost, he's still not too far away, but Punich is already on the move. And I think that, well, for Empire, that is not what they would have wanted. Punich the last player up.
Carito, a really nice peek there coming out from Varas, just pops up a couple of shots, able to get the knock with it. In the end, though, Chiquito trades it out onto Varas. Team Casito, they're quite split up in the way that they're currently taking this. It's a bold play to try and make, but I guess when you're out on your own, you've got no vehicle, it's worth trying to salvage some points. Doesn't look like it's going to be converted over as Chiquito for Carito gets the first point of the game for them, hoping to make a change to their momentum going into day number 2, as they have had a rough set of games tonight.
Yeah, it's not been great for them. Team Game of Thrones, aka Team Casino, not having the best time, but for Carito, that's a point on the board for them again. That's 2 now. They've doubled their point tally, and you know, every journey starts with that first step, so maybe they can make something happen. Meanwhile, Pachinki getting hotter and hotter as things go, because now pure RNG are moving in as well. Valiant and Lobes pushing in.
Really spread out in terms of how they're going to try and take this one. I think you've got to assume that that compound's going to be taken, but Valiant is just spinning around. It looks like he's going to send it anyway. And Mirror, they are super split. This could cause a problem for them if RNG decide to group up as a unit to take this fight. Not going to be the case, though, as Kawazine laying down prone, just trying to get that audio intel. LFP's already up on the roof. I mean, they're assuming now that nobody is going to be peeking from Pachinki, sorry. I nearly said Picardo. But it looks like Alcudzia on the other side of things, they're getting aggressive, they're getting confident, they're trying to scout out as Relo's up in the glider. I love to see it.
Yeah, and this is what it's about, like, get the lay of the land. Right, he's going to, right, I see one team rotating, they're a little bit further north of you. He's going to feed that information over, and maybe these gunshots will turn them a little further north towards that liquid compound. So Relo's job is to be the eye in the sky. Now, because that vehicle doesn't blow up, because if it's shot down, it will still land, it means that Relo can do this. Like, it is so difficult to shoot a player out of a glider that this is... It's one of those moves where Alcudzia will gain a lot of information off the back of it without taking too much of a risk.
Especially if he's staying around his team as well, because sure, it's hard to shoot a player out of the glider. It's really easy to shoot a glider down. That thing does not have much health. So as long as he's around his team and he can semi-safely land it, then he can easily get a pickup and get over to the compound. But for right now, he's gathering a lot of intel out of it. We say it's difficult, but for these players, they're not going to struggle too much. A little bit of damage being found, but look at this. Cowboy snuck up, lands the nade, takes down one, takes down a second. A 3-man wipe onto in check, and there's only one player left up, nowhere nearby. That's 3 points gained quickly, and I guess Relo causing enough of a distraction on the high ground to pull in check's information away. They weren't even looking over the ridgeline.
Relo was basically like a monkey toy with symbols up in the sky. They could not focus anywhere else, and Cowboy just stepped on up. Great spray. The nade thrown first, which basically buys him time that he can focus on the furthest away player, then towards the ones behind the car, knowing that the nade will do the rest of the work. Brilliant play from the young protege. Cowboy picking up those points, but it all comes down to Relo. Like, Relo's the reason why Cowboy was able to do that.
Yeah, beautiful execution there from Alcudzia. They still have a ways to make it in now as the zone has shifted over to the west. Toyo are going to be looking really strong, but it's Mira who are going to be the first to try and defend a push as Glock lands the initial shots. Kawazine returns it quickly. Both players taken down low. That frag grenade could be deadly as it comes out close. Does get the knock onto Glock as Team Mirror now starting to regroup. Potentially Dangerous have also got even more players in this compound. It's only going to be Night of On right now, and Slabby is quite a ways away. Gabriel falls. Potentially Dangerous starting to face some real trouble in this crash.
Yeah, and Slabby has to come because Nightavon is still alive and Glock is on his feet, so he's been left with no choice. Glock down on the outside, Slabby will arrive, but Valiant is sneaking in on the opposite side, sensing a third party, sensing some free points could be garnered. Glock is going to get knocked. The grenade from Quazine is even better, and Team Mira just disabling all of the members are potentially dangerous, and now it's all down to Slabby, and he's getting out of dodge, and Liquid, well, they're trying to bury some people on holy grounds as Typhon will lose 2.
Luke 12 doing his best to try and defend, will be able to flush up a second. That's 3 kills on the board for him, and therefore Liquid now deciding to move back. They're happy with what's happened here. They're going to try and group up Typhon down to just a solo, but we've seen what Psycho can do when he's on his own and he's backed into a corner. It seems like Liquid, they are going to try and execute onto this, but Toyo, they hear the shots and they are hungry.
Yeah, Benya thought there might have been an opportunity for just a second's time, but he's able to play this position. He's been here for a long time. He's been waiting for the chance to get a knock, and he's patient enough that he eventually will find Kurt. Now, he puts a really good timer on him. Kurt's going to go down to 1 HP. He's going to get dealt with, and Benya now is able to fall back towards Mini Potch. He got what he was waiting for. He was patient, he was clever, he got his point, and now Toyo, they can focus on Foradoras.
Foradoras in a little bit of a difficult position right now. Sure, they've got hard cover, they've got the center of the zone, but they are limited down to one building. I don't expect them to try and send a player over to the other one. It's just too risky, even with the smokes. I think right now they settle down the center circle. They're pretty much set to be in the next phase, unless it does a real hard shift down to the south. They're going to be happy with this position, and this is one of those where we often see these circles end just to the north of these 2 compounds that we see these squads holding. So they're really going to be hoping for a zone like that. They just need to be prepared to defend a lot of crashes if that zone centers up on them, which it seems to do. And again, Relo making the most out of that glider, gathering that intel when the team rotate in.
Yeah, D&B, center of the circle. School App's not too far away either, as 55 called in an E-pickup, but I'd be surprised if they take it. And Senior Latino, he takes his shot and finds the knock on the fake. So 55 will sustain 1 knock. And here come Al-Qudsiya. They're going to move in next door to Foradoras, and that's the last thing, Chunks, that Foradoras would have wanted.
My question now is, how do they get Relo down from this? If you see how low that glider actually is, he's going to have to try and make a landing. This could be extremely risky for him with Foradoras and Toyo both in this position. He does a very tight landing right there. What a landing right there. Someone's been playing some flight sim. Relo gets down, damage free, and Al-Qudsiya has somehow been able to make it into this compound completely unscathed. The nades do land out, so Foradoras not fully giving their position away. There is going to be a good read that people are in here based on the number of vehicles that they saw on the crash.
Yeah, 7 out of 10. Actually, giving Relo an 8 out of 10 for that landing. It's only thing that would have made it better is if he had had all 3 tires on the ground at the end. But look, beggars can't be choosers. Relo was a much better player and pilot than me, and he's probably a better caster than me too, but hopefully he doesn't come for my job all too yet. But Chunks, circle, 3 teams slap bang in the middle. Mira not too far away either. This is going to get pretty spicy.
It certainly is. Team Liquid, they're pretty happy with their position. Luke is really anchored further into the zone as the rest of the squad looking down to the south. They do need to be cautious now with OMG and Team Casito moving in. But OMG, they're going to make their position known as they try and land the spray onto Brad. It's not to be just yet. 1604 tries to make something happen, but it's just not there. Team Casito somehow managing to pass through relatively unscathed. They've still got a vehicle, and it looks like they're going to continue the rotation. For a second, I thought they were going to try and stop and take the fight, but no, they are just heading up this hillside, and now they're going to be the gatekeepers for OMG.
I'm a fan. I love it. Team Casito moving up onto the hill. They'll have lines of sight elsewhere. Team Carito are up there as well, as they're on Potato Hill with a good eye of what's going on. But the problem is, you've still got Team Liquid holding on the other side. 3 players up. Looks like they're going to move a little further forward, reposition, make sure that those tires are safe. But with 16.5 minutes elapsed at this point, we're almost ready for that next zone shift. Chunks, are you calling a donut, or is PUBG going to throw us a curveball and go down towards that south?
I've got a feeling that it's going to center up over on Mirror there, and it kind of does. You know, those compounds, they tend to be a bit of a zone magnet when we get into these phase 3 circles, and it seems like it's going to carry on that way. The real attention draw right now is going to be that southern hillside with Casito, with Carito, Liquid, and now OMG all playing for what is ultimately a very open area. Luke 12, understandably concerned that he was going to be getting pushed, so takes a lot of shots up the hillside to try and prevent OMG from moving in, but they're going to head dead center, potentially over towards this compound. Surely they are stuck playing the garage. Cowboy with a nice spray, nearly able to get the knock, but just can't convert it over. They know where that player is going to be. Throw down the frag grenades to try and prevent them from peeking round wide. As OMG, they're just going to have to play this garage. There's not really much that they can do. If they try and make the push, they are going to be wide open to a team like Toyo, but they're still only a 2-man in this compound.
Yeah, and Foradores, don't rule them out on having an impact on this fight as well, as this is a big push for OMG. Al-Qudsiya need to keep all 4 players up. If any of these 2 teams both sustain knocks, it could be curtains in this game. So Cowboy, with 3 kills on the board already, is just the front line. The front line of this assault is Luke 12 on the other side of the map. He's going to find one member of Team Casito. As Ali falls, the nade is thrown. Chunks, the nade looks like it might be very good, and it's perfect.
Beautifully done there to finish off Team Casito, but now Liquid, they are on an open hillside with Carito starting to come up over the top of it. Sparking, he's loaded up, he's clearing out. He will see the nade come through before those players expose themselves, so he at least has a read onto where Panic Show's going to be. Preps himself a frag. It could be absolutely perfect, especially combined with those shots. Gets himself the knock, but now doesn't know where the rest of the players are going to be. Team Liquid have to be very cautious about how they approach this, as they do hear some fire coming out. They switch their attention. Sparking pre-firing, Alo catching the headshots. Out comes the frag, out comes the molly. Then you got to think that K is going to be in trouble, forced off of the tree now.
Yeah, Roth got a knock on the JO809 who had the nade in his hand as well, so he will be the next to fall. Team Liquid dominating this fight for the hills as OMG, they pushed in, but they're going to sustain another knock. Payne is the last player up now. He's upstairs, he's all by himself. Al-Qudsiya looking to make this work. Payne steps out, gets one, gets a second, but he's going to fall. Al-Qudsiya, if they can get all these reses off without Foradores pushing, this is like a drum. This is like a drum with no sides for them, Chunks. You
LG have just
beat it.
crashed into this as well now. This is absolutely hectic for these center compounds. There's potentially dangerous go down in 12th. All it's going to take is one well-placed nade coming out from Gats. That seems to be what's going to happen, but no, the players managed to get round the back of the building, so they will be safe for the time being. Snakers just throwing in the util, is able to take out Die. Cowboy follows suit. Roth, low HP. One more nade would have finished the job, but they have switched their attention over towards Rello. He's taking damage. LG have just swarmed onto this at the absolute perfect time. There's Al-Qudsiya. They're going to move up the hillside, have themselves up the stairs, sorry, as they get themselves a little bit of cover. It's no match for Gats, and his strong arm takes down Roth, and now it's only going to be Rello left up.
Yeah, Rello, and they know where he is as well. Snakers preloaded that nade, and Foradores, they're just bearing witness to everything that's happened elsewhere. Atlas, he's up on the stairs. He's just peeking out the door. Maybe he finds the opportunity to get a knock. If he sees an easy knock and flush, he will take it. Rello with 2 nades at the ready. He's got to be careful. Here comes a crash on the other side. There was Panella good. Will move in. LFP's going to wait until he can get 2 knocks for the price of 1. There's 1. There's 2. It's a discount bin. He's going to throw the bomb in there to blow them into smithereens. And that is great from Team Mira.
Beautifully done there from Mira to defend that crash. I thought it was going to be another messy one, but not to be. Now the rest of Panella Good are going to have to rethink how they approach things. During this all happening, Toyo, they sent their 2 players back to group up, and it worked out well for them. Capitan takes down 2. That's 3 now knocked. for Pure RNG. Only Penta left up. He's playing as a solo, and he is turned away. He is not wanting to take this fight. Luke 12, though, he certainly does. He's getting aggressive. He's got an angle onto this position, and he finishes off the job. That's Pure RNG out in 11th position, and this is an absolute mess of a game when you look over at those northern compounds.
Yeah, Liquid up to 7 kills as they look to close the gap towards Al Qudsiya, who are top of the leaderboard. They had 41, but they've got a couple more kills under their belt. LG now will move is as a wave. 3 players pushing towards Rello. The only way he could really deal with a 3-man push is if he has the nades at the ready in times of perfect, or he has a P90, or he has himself a nice big belt on an M249. But I'd say they know that that's not the case. But look at Mira on the other side. Big knock on the box, and that will be even more support now for Rello from the other side of the road.
That nade's going to be close to the Penella good players, but it doesn't seem to connect. The second one certainly does, though. Fakes in, able to get the knock over onto Warlock. Only Senior Lutinho going to be left up, using that smoke for cover. He's not going to be able to get the revive onto his teammate. 15 seconds now till Phase 5 concludes, and it's a real question of where this is going to shift. Does it go up to the north, allow these teams to stay in the compound, or are they all going to have to make a move at exactly the same time? Still, by the way, Punich is out in the blue. It's the Empire strat, isn't it? Regardless of what the roster is in the zone that shifts hard to the west. 4 Adoras might be thankful of this one that they're still in.
Yeah, but it's Phase 6. Like, this thing stings so hard. Fake took a ton of damage there just standing in the blue as he attempts to catch Sparking as he flees off into the distance, but the nades are not going to go far enough. Liquid, they're trying to get a jump on the circle. That's exactly what they might just have done. And here's the thing now. You look to this section of the map. Penella Good, Mira, LG, Al Qudsiya all have now been pushed out of position based on this circle. And Foradoras are going to have 4 teams that really want their spot.
It's almost hoping that these teams eliminate each other. 4 Adoras as Psycho as a solo takes down one, but is eliminated by the nade in the end. Liquid, they've made a crash over onto Toyo's compound, as Emmy going to be the only player in this position. The rest of the squad, they tried to move away. Not sure whether Liquid are fully aware that there is going to be a player left, but now they are as he takes the shots. Alo gets a little glimpse of him, but nothing concrete. Sparking going to be eliminated. That MG3 is so powerful at close range. Luke 12 spins round the side. First, he's got to finish off Benya. That he does, no problem. He knows that the other player is going to be close. Alo finishes off the job. Emmy also to fall, but up on top of the hillside, Capitan trades it out. It's a 1 versus 1, but Liquid with 8 kills on the board yet again. Alo's boosting up. He knows where Capitan's going to be, hoping that he overexposes, but not to be.
Yeah, Capitan might be thinking about going for the res onto Sukiro, and that's exactly what Capitan will do. That means that if Alo wants to get the res off the Sparking, he can do it, but he's got to do it fast with Mira not too far away. LG back in the fight. Did we lose Al Qudsiya? Yes, we did. I don't see them in there anymore, so now Penella Good have crashed this way. Patience of the Saint, by the way, from Foradoras. Like, they could get this knock on this at any point on this side, but they're not. What a nade from Senior Latino.
That is absolutely huge as the final player left up for Penella Good somehow manages to get over to hard cover, popping that first aid kit. You can see him checking around. He's ready for a nade to land through any second, but they are just a little bit short. Kawazine still hanging up in that building on the north, just trying to find himself an angle, but he hasn't been able to. The flush comes out from Senior Lutinho, so that's a second point on the board now for Penella Good. That's if LG can't get themselves a revive. It looks like Snakers is working towards getting Voxic back up, but it is a risky one. Senior Lutinho, he goes out to the blue zone, 8th position for them, still able to salvage a placement point out of it. The Snakers, he wants to get that res, but at what cost? He runs over, should just about be able to get it, providing Foradoras don't peek out, but that zone has gone the worst way possible for them. Toyo's rotation early on is starting to pay benefit, but 55 is still out there, and Punich, who has been out in the blue all of this game, is waiting.
And he can see all of them. He sees 3 members, not all of them, but actually, no, I think he has spotted them all. He knows exactly where they all are. So He's got to stay alive, right? He's got the blue back. He knows that they have no clue he's here. So he could get an easy knock and a flush. That's 1 point. But he sees the potential for more.
Oh.
Sparking with that MG, though, will spray down Mira like the dogs in the profile picture as 2 of them will fall. Liquid now up to 9 kills as they feel like they can wrangle top spot away. The blue zone nade doing so much damage onto Kawazine. Another nade thrown around the corner. Alo gets it all by himself. 12 kills now for Team Liquid. What a number they're doing on the lobby.
Amazing performance from them as Gats pushes in for LG, cleans up for Adoras, getting more points on the board. Punich finally peeks up, goes for the spray, but oh no, he doesn't make anything out of it. He does get the nade onto T-Plents, might hope that he bleeds out back. He does end up getting knocked from long range to 55. It looks like they're not going to be able to get the revives. That might be an extra point now for Punich. H11 focuses over onto Capitan as LG focus their attention onto Team Liquid. All teams scrapping for position right now, and I mean 55 have just been torn apart by that kind of off angle from Punich that they weren't expecting. They still managed to finish off Toyo though, so they might stand a chance of staying in this one if they can get a revive and focus their fire effectively.
Fake's going for the reses. Fake is actually going for the hero play while H11 will focus on everything else on the side of the circle. This is a big play for 55, and it might just result in a win. Alo and Sparking moving on the other side. The MG is still in their hands, but there's the blue zone. Sparking will find the flush onto Baki, but he falls. He's not going to be able to spot out the angle, but maybe Alo can just about do it. 55 back up to a 3, but has this res cost them in the long run, Chunks? That's the real question.
Alo trying to deny that extra player, which 55 have, but it's 13 kills on the board now for Team Liquid. This is an absolutely huge performance from them, and still no signs of slowing. The circle has centered, and there's not a single player in it as H11 just about creeps into the zone. The rest of his team are going to have to try and follow suit. LG just scouting out. They know that they can't push with 55 up the hillside. Team Liquid just across the road. They are fully focused in on. You can see Sparking just trying to pre-fire to keep that head of Gats down. The smoke will come up for a little bit of pressure relief, hoping that they can make a move, but right now LG are in real trouble.
Yeah, it's a 3v2v2. 55 inside the circle, but Team Liquid, they also got to move in as well. So for 55, they've just got to keep their heads out of trouble. They've got high ground. They can scout over that ridge. They can get tons of information. Gats will be the first to move. He goes behind the tree. T-Plants will give him something to think about, but Snakers will trade damage in return. And that buys his teammate the time that Gats needed to get that first aid off.
Gats wasted the first aid in the end, unfortunately. Fake finishes off the job. Snaker's going to move down to try and get the revive, but it might be too little too late. Pops the deployable cover just about in time, but Fake is going to be able to finish off the job. Gets the point onto Gats, and it's Sparking from the off angle to finish off LG. It's a 2 versus 3. 55 Esports, they've got the high ground, but Team Liquid, they are not going to quit anytime soon. Sparking gets caught with a headshot. That is the opening now for H11 to close the distance. He has the barrel in hand, but that is such an open area to try and cross. Sparking makes the run over to the other smoke, does get caught out in the end. It's only going to be Alo left up as 55. The revive working out in the end, potentially, as they have a 3-man team. 2 to the advantage of Team Liquid. Alo throws up a nade, tries to connect with something, but just not happening, and he is completely pinned. He tries to peek up to finish off the job. 5 HP. He is fully committed to it. Pops the heal. He is pressured by the blue zone as H11 closes up. Alo's days seemingly numbered now.
Yeah, the vice is closing. H11, though, Alo will find that knock. T-Plants, there we go, gets it, winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's a nice point tally. It's 18 points for them, but for Team Liquid, they're going to take 20, and that should be enough to finish them in top spot on the day.
Really impressive from 55, though, to be able to salvage that game after just getting absolutely griefed in a way by Poonage. Sure, he wasn't able to make too much out of it after missing a very unfortunate spray, but they were in a position where, I mean, I made the assumption they were going to be playing as a two-man, but no, they managed to get one of the revives up. They got that player advantage, and that gave them really good cover down to the south on that hillside, just watching every team up to the north and really dictating how that final game played out. Final zone, I should say, played out.
Yeah, they did a great job, but I think 55, like, the question was the Rez going to come back to bite them? In the end, it won them the game. There's that wonderful combination of Cowboy and Rello, where Cowboy got all the kills, but Rello was the distraction. But how good was that nade from Kawazine? Like, that hold from him was phenomenal as well.
Yeah, and it gave them the opportunity to make it further into the game. It was really good to be able to eliminate that player. But again, Cowboy stole the show. It was Alcudzia with that really smart early game play that impressed me. Using that glider to gain that advantage and then continuing to use it later on to scout out which buildings were free, how to path into the zone. They made the most out of it. Sure, they didn't get out of that compound in the end, but when you've got 4 teams playing between 4 buildings, it's almost destined that you're going to face some trouble.
And there's another good spray there from H11 as we're getting to watch it once more. Sparking tapped through the smoke, found that kill in the end. But as you can see, 55, they were always going to win from this position. And T-Plants put the final full stop on the game as 6 games are done and dusted. So let's have a look at how many points were distributed over the course of that matchup. 20 for Liquid, 18 for 55. And looking at Alcudzia's 6, I don't think that's enough to keep them in top spot.
No, but it's still going to keep them competitive at the end of the day. We've still got 2 more sets of games that we have to kind of figure out how it's going to unfold. 2 days left. This is only day 1 of 3 here in the Super Cup, and there is a lot to play for. Let's take a look at the overall standings, and so far it looks like Liquid have been able to hold on to that first place, taking it from Alcudzia, and a significant gap between first and second growing.
Yeah, that gap is increased, but Team Liquid were phenomenal that game. Like, their kills alone would have been enough. But looking elsewhere, like Njeke team sitting in 3rd after the win in game number 1 of the night. LG climb up into 4th. That win for 55 will rocket them into 5th place as well. Look at that gap. 22 points for 8th and 9th. And then there's a 20-point gap to Team Kizito at the bottom. This is not a 6-map night. This is a 4-map night, 3 nights in a row. If Team Kizito want to get into those placement points and start getting themselves some cash, they've got to get inside that top 8.
Yeah, and it's going to be a difficult one, but the good thing is they've still got plenty of games to make it happen. Even teams all the way down at the bottom have the opportunity. There is not a huge gap that you need to try and close, but you need to make it happen early on. Team Liquid, though, they stole the show in terms of kills, damage, survival time. It's no wonder that they're out in first place. And yeah, Empire, survival time, name a more iconic duo.
Look at that average survival time for Team Liquid, though. Right? They've played 4 games, and according to that average, they have been alive into the final Phase 9 circle every game tonight. 29.5 minutes is insane for them, and it's reasons like that that they're on top of the leaderboard. Let's look at the player summary, though. Luke 12, he had himself a bit of a night.
He always does, doesn't he? He is just on another level when it comes to individual skill. And, you know, when you've got that team surrounding you, Alo getting up there in the damage stats as well, it is bound to happen like this. Really impressive, but also Alcudzia. I think when we look at like the KDA and the kills and stuff, it shows just how aggressive that they are being. They don't really focus the end game so much. Sure, we saw it, I think it was over on Tego, when they played a little bit more passive. When they got the center of the circle, they were able to make it happen out of that. But when they don't have that circle, they are not afraid to take fights and get super aggressive, and in turn get a lot of kills to go with it.
No, and that's, I think, getting those kills to go with the damage is why Team Liquid are so good. But Chunks, we've come to the conclusion of game number 1, game night number 1. 2 nights left to go. Tomorrow and Sunday we'll have 4 maps each. Any final words of wisdom for the viewers at home?
Keep watching, because anything can change. We've still got 8 games ahead of us, plenty of room for movement on the leaderboard. Just keep your eyes peeled, and it's going to be a fun weekend.
It will be fun indeed. Remember, we will be back live. You've got EMEA first. That will be live from, I believe, 1 p.m. Eastern time for those of you in the US. Then we will be on your screens from 7 p.m. Eastern as well, where you can catch the final games of the night. But from myself, from Chunks, it's been an absolute pleasure. Have yourself a great night. Play plenty of PUBG, and we'll see you tomorrow.
was high.